excited to be here with each and every single one of you because you get to experience growth like no other now. Day one, we went over, and I'll do a recap with you. Day one, we went over what the webinar is and what the framework is for the next 12 months for you. And some of you already chose your date. Many of you are in October or late October or early November for your webinar. Then yesterday, we went over the process on how to fill up your webinar and have strategic advantages in filling up your webinar. Now, today is, once your webinar is done, what do you do? How do you increase sales? So on your webinar, you're actually going to go ahead and present your offer. I think that's where a lot of people, in my experience, because I've trained dozens of people to do their webinars and host their events, that they get stuck on. They're like, I gave all the value, why haven't people bought? So you want to write this down. Make an offer. If you don't have a notepad, be sure to grab one. If this is, and by the way, if this is your third day, meaning you've been here for the last 3 days, put a 3 in the chat box. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, put a 3 in the comment box. So that way, when I watch the replay, I know like, hey, who's in the audience? So I'm seeing a lot of 3s. If this is your second day, maybe you came on day 1 or day 2, and you've only experienced 2 days out of here, put a 2 in the chat box. If you're on YouTube or if you're on the Facebook, put a 2 in the comment section. And if this is your first day ever, like this is like, hey man, I heard about this webinar. I was part of the Facebook group. I got the email, so on and so forth, whatever that may look like. Put a 1 in the chat box. So that way I know who's here and I know who's excited to be a part of this. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of 3s, and then one person is 2/3. But I'm seeing a lot of 3s. So many of you have already been part of day 1 and day 2. And then some of you, this is your second day. And for a couple of you, this is your first day. So when I share my screen here, what I'll do is I'll recap, Paulson, that's cool with you. I'll just recap real quick of day 1. Now, yesterday, I did recap day 1. So on this one, I'm going to go even faster because many of you have already gotten the content. But this is just an overview of what day 1 was looking like. What I found was that there's 2 ways to sell SaaS: option A, option B. Option A is one-on-one, option B is in a group. So based on law of averages, everyone from day 1, we did the math, and we found if someone worked full-time, doing 4 demos a day, they can, and working 20 days in a month, they can at most do 80 demos in a month. Option B is if you just follow our webinar system and you're consistently generating people to come to your webinar, in a scenario where you have 100 people in your Zoom room, you can do essentially 100 demos in 1 day. So you can outperform the one-on-one demo model compared to speaking in groups. I also shared the framework, which the framework is a 4-step framework. Number 1 is you're going to schedule a webinar or a group event once a month, every month for the next 12 months. And your job is to get as many people to your webinar as possible. And on day 1 and day 2, I talk about that. I talk about how to fill up your webinar. I talk about how to get people there and what that webinar is going to look like. Then at the webinar, you're going to do a group demonstration of your SaaS. Keep it simple. Keep it super simple. 2 features at most of what you're demonstrating. And then you're going to repeat. Every single month, you're going to be hosting this webinar. Also on day 1, I broke down my funnel, or my landing page at least, where when people go to go-saaslaunch.com/webinar, that there's really 3 elements on the landing page in addition to the form. The first element is the title. So on day 1, the folks who were a part of day 1, they chose the title of their event and kept it real simple. They chose the date of their event. The second thing that Paulson and I created this little moniker that was pretty funny was less information, more registrations. So I shared that you want to keep it simple on your landing page and just focus on what the end result is. Notice here, there's nothing here about the SaaS. The third element is going to be the host, who the host of the event is. Okay. And I also shared a little bit of my stats or statistics from my webinar last week. Today's September 13th. On September 6th, I held a webinar. We had 821 registrations, 133 attend live, and then we closed on the webinar $81,000 in annual recurring revenue. Okay. And then, what was the next button? And then there's these 3 elements in your reminder campaign. As a bonus for the people who took advantage of upgrading, mind you, if A lot of the things that I'm sharing with you, if you really want to sell SaaS, if you, let me just do this real quick. I just got to clean up the screen. Somebody's writing, whoever's writing on my PowerPoint, please don't annotate on my PowerPoint. So I just made a few changes here. However, what you want to do is you want to keep it simple for your automation now, and I broke that down on day one. But you also, if you're planning on doing this SaaS thing for real, being a SaaSpreneur, you get to have the right tools. It's kind of like saying, I'm a man of construction. I create houses, but you don't have the tools. So the 497 plan, all the things that I'm sharing with you in selling SaaS from a group event, if you don't have the 497 plan, you're going to have to create your SaaS customer manually. You have to create the sub account manually, and you have to automate the billing and connect the sub accounts and so forth, and Stripe and all this legwork. On the 497 plan, you get the SaaS configurator and you get the open API to connect. So number one, I broke down what the funnel looks like on day one. I broke down what the reminder campaign looks like. And at the event, you go ahead and you sell. Also on day two, I broke down the 3 strategies to fill up your webinar. I broke down what direct traffic looks like, where you go to the exact strategy. Now, it's not just a thing on here where I say networking events, there's a process. So on day 2, I broke down what that process looks like to get leads and get people to register at networking events from Facebook, from other people's stages and other people's webinars. I broke down the 4-minute and 29-second process yesterday. So if you didn't watch it, be sure to go watch it on the YouTube channel. And I also broke down how you can invite speakers and have them bring in attendees to your event. And I broke down what happens afterwards. And what happens afterwards is that when people register, they get buddy passes. And you get all the know-how. For those of you who upgraded to the 497 plan, I got a bunch of direct messages from you. Congratulations for those of you who have upgraded to the 497 plan and you got the snapshot already. So we gave you a snapshot. My company, my marketing agency, sells that snapshot for $35,000. We finalized that snapshot 72 hours ago, specifically for this event. Me and my team were working up late night hours. We said, okay, Paulson requested this. We're going to make it happen for this group. And we gave you a snapshot that we charged $35,000 for as a bonus for those of you who are serious and you upgrade to the 497 plan because you're ready to grow your SaaS business and get recurring revenue. How does that sum it up, Paulson?
Absolutely. So in all reality, what it comes down to is strategy is not the problem. We have a full-on case study of how this works for multiple agencies, including High Level itself. We know other companies as well that's in the software space, in addition to what Andy's saying. So, but what it comes down to is just the action behind it. And Andy will tell you, like, don't wait on your presentation to be perfect. Don't worry about the streaming to be all razzle dazzle. Just schedule, put up a Zoom. Like I had somebody ask me yesterday, hey, should I do Webinar Jam or Zoom or whatever? It doesn't matter. Like in the first initiation, just like launch, baby. That's it. It doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter if anybody even showed up, because you're putting together a framework and a process for you and your own company, right? And we're doing these once a month as we recommend. But yeah, this absolutely sums it up. So Andy, you and I know that the money is in the follow-up, right? The actual gold is in the follow-up. Can you help us navigate through that? And I know that's really the main thing that we're going to talk a lot about on day 3 today.
Right. Everyone, if you have a notepad, be sure to grab that out and write this down. After the webinar ends, your journey to success is just beginning. You're going to use every connection that's made at this webinar, every question that's answered, every insight that's shared at this webinar to unlock the full potential of your SaaS. Yeah. Your tribe awaits in the follow-through. That follow-up is where your tribe is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me do a pop quiz. I just want to make sure people are engaged here. What exactly, put this in the chat, help me understand. What exactly are you teaching on your webinar that you're going to launch? What exactly are you going to teach? Just give me 2 words. That's it. 2 words, tell me what you're going to teach for your local communities or whoever you're setting up the event for. Like, okay, a ton of people are answering. Lead gen, demo system, framework. I love it. Automations, conversions, missed call text back. Eric got it right. 2 features, right? So it's very easy to talk about the 400 or 500 features of high level. The worst thing you can do in SaaS, as SaaSpreneurs, is lead with multiple offers, lead with multiple features. You are going to confuse the market. In our 5-day challenge that we do for high levelers, we teach missed call text back, honestly, and leading with 1 Trojan horse. SaaSpreneur program that we have, same thing, how to focus in on a local market, leading with 1 or 2 max features. The same thing in our mastermind. So remember, you're not trying to teach them high level. That's not the point. We can do that with marketers and agency owners and technology people and IT people. You're serving the local market or individuals or professionals that are not in the marketing world or automations to begin with. So be sure to not confuse them by sharing all the possible capabilities. Here's another thing that I want to just add on before Andy goes into a lot of the topics. When we say a feature, right? I've had somebody send me recordings of their past trainings and they're like, hey, Paulson, what do you think of this? They taught the background of the feature. They taught the philosophy of the feature. They taught how the feature was created. They talked about, the inspiration behind the feature, like a landing page, for example. They're talking about all these other companies that have landing pages as well. They talk about the power of landing page. They talk about how traffic is this and that. When the crowd, the audience, does not need to know the background in how landing pages came into the world of marketing. They just want to know how it applies to them for their local business. So make sure your content has a lot of context, because that is king. Okay. Andy, go ahead, man.
We got to bring up this Ryan VO up at some point. He said he already launched his webinar, and I remember his question from like day 1 or day 2, and he says he has 15 people signed up for his webinar already.
Yeah,
which is awesome. So
I'll look out for Ryan.
what I'm sharing here is your relationship with your customer is going to happen post webinar. A lot of the business that you're going to make is post webinar, and the idea of I only work on the webinar, that's the only time that I build a relationship with someone, is false, because a lot of the relationship is on the follow-up, answering questions, but you did majority. The point here of doing the webinar is that you did majority of the legwork. You did majority of the legwork. So if you want to write this down again, I shared it yesterday, but I'm going to break it down here. What I've seen and this is how I train my sales staff, is that there's a 4-step sales process for if you're going to do a one-on-one demo. Step 1 is greet, where you greet, qualify, present, close. 4 steps: greet, qualify, present, close. When you're greeting, you're building rapport. So you're going to say, hey, I'm Bob, or I'm Jeffrey, or I'm Tom, or I'm Joy from so-and-so SaaS company, right? And you give them your background, you find out their background, and so forth. So that's the greet. You're building a little bit of rapport. Then you're going to qualify. When you qualify, you're going to identify what needs that person has. That's what you're doing on a one-on-one demo. So you're getting the information of what needs that person has. Now, here's the thing. It's different on a webinar. A conversation, a demo, is a dialogue with 2 people going back and forth. A webinar is one on many. So it's you sharing information to this group of people. So on a webinar, what you're doing a little bit differently is you're telling them the problem that they already have. You already have identified the problem that they already have. So for me on Andy's webinars, for my people, for my folks that come up to my webinars, they all have a similar problem. They all need sales appointments. I need more sales appointments, Andy. Some people might be in a different service-based business, or one might be a coach, one might be life insurance, one might be real estate. But what I found in common between all of them through doing these webinars is that they all have the same common challenge. I need more sales appointments on my calendar. Okay. So on the webinar, during this process, so what happens after is where you find out more. So greet is going to be accomplished on your webinar on that first step of the sales process is going to be accomplished when you share your background on your webinar. So that part is taken care of on a live group presentation. Does that make sense? So on a one-on-one, you got the 4-step sales process: greet, qualify, present, close. Greet, qualify, present, close. The greet portion on a webinar is just you sharing who you are, your background, your accolades, or where you're taking the group as a unit because you're the lead presenter. So greet is taken care of. The next step is the qualify. In the qualification stage, you're letting them know what problems they have. And the goal of a webinar is to get most of the audience to identify and say, you know what? I do have that problem. You're right. I do need more sales appointments. Or you're right. I do waste time following up with leads. You're right. I do have sticky notes. You're right. I don't have a CRM managing all my contacts. You're 100% right. I do need automations if I want to spend more time with my family and my kids. So your goal is to get majority of the group to identify with the problem that you're stating. So the qualification, they're going to say in the audience is going to say, I feel like Joy knows me. I feel like Jeff understands my pain. I feel like Jim went into my brain and understood what my problem was, right? As you being the presenter. So you greeted already, you qualified by sharing the problem. Then the next step of the one-on-one demo is to present. So you're going to present your solution as well as the price point. Your solution, your SaaS. Now, confused minds don't buy. So we want to keep it quite simple and get the group to adopt one idea. I know there's a lot of features in the software. There's conversations, missed call text back, there's automations, there's sites, there's websites, there's funnels, there's membership, there's courses, there's client portal, proposals. Sean just launched proposals, and now there's payments and proposals, man. And then Sean's gonna send you another message in 2 hours with another feature, right? It's not to assume all those features right now in a large group presentation. Just focus on 1, 2 at most. So for Andy, I basically tell him conversations on automations. That's it. Conversations tab and automations tab. And I sell my SaaS at $750, and it's worth it because they're like, hey, this is less confusing than the other person selling it for $97. That's like all around selling all these different features on this other software, not Go High Level, but all this other software, and it's so confusing. $749. I feel like my decision is safe here. So you want to keep it simple. So you present your offer, and you present your solution, which is your SaaS, plus you present your offer. And you say, hey, guys, it is this price point. And then the last step is the close. Greet, qualify, present, close. On a one-on-one demo, that's when you answer questions. The closing is overcoming any objections, reasons why they don't want to buy. In the chat box, I want you to, if you've done a demo at any point, in the chat box, put a reason why someone would say, I don't want to buy your software. What's an objection that you've experienced before in the chat box? And if you're on YouTube, Facebook, and you're watching this, put it in the comment section. And so that way, when I go watch the replay later, I can answer any of your questions and give you some tips as well. I'll respond to your comment.
Absolutely. And those, I see a lot of folks in here that are part of the 5-day challenge that's happening. And we've taught you to focus on the one feature, which is missed call text back. So when it comes to what Andy's teaching, it should complement right exactly how I'm teaching, which is you're going to present on your webinar about the missed call text back, nothing else, because that's the offer that we have presented in the 5-day challenge. So make sure you're not going back and forth with a different offer and things like that. And if anybody wants access to it, that's part of the bonus for the workshop. You get that for free. But Andy, can we do, I like this, the greet, qualify, present, close. I like the framework of remembering the content. And I think it was like maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I asked Andy to, hey, let's jump on a quick podcast. If you don't know, we have a podcast called High Level Spotlight Sessions. And Andy was like, okay, let's do it. Let's do this. Like, we were all excited. I'm like, well, what's the framework of what we're going to talk about? And we stepped back for a quick second. And I told Andy, really, you want one topic and 3 sub headlines. That's the way most people consume content. And in production, in reality, like if you look at television and other industries, 22 minutes is the magic number that they all shoot for. The other 8 minutes is commercial. So if you look at a TV series of why it's 30 minutes, it's psychologically proven that a person can sit down for 22 minutes and look at one straight shot of a content, which is why even in my workshops and other lives that I do, my first thing I do is about like 30 minutes of just teaching content. Then the next half of that call is typically Q&A. And that's by design, because you want to change the rhythm of the conversation. Same thing applies to your webinar. You're going to set this up for your local business, local area. And if you're on the 5-day challenge, you're teaching missed call text back. If you're doing other things, whatever, do the one offer that you want to do. And take about 20-30 minutes. And remember, we talked about this webinar being 90 minutes long, right? So sometimes you may have to figure out ways to fill in content. But in the first one, it's okay if it's 45 minutes long. It's okay if it's 60 minutes long. It's okay if you went too fast and you're done in 15 minutes. Like it's all okay. But I really like the greet, qualify, present, close. And if somebody follows that framework, they can really connect with the audience, I think.
100%. Some of the objections that I have coming in here is like, for example, Twin City says, think about it. I need to think about it. And so what you're going to be doing is you want to get feedback. If you truly want to progress, like my software name, my white label is Progretta, and it stands for Progressed Daily. I have it on my wristband. It says Progress Daily on my wristband. Today I wore a shirt at the gym that says Progress Daily. It's a moniker that I use every morning to remember. So Progretta stands for Progress Daily. And in getting feedback, and you're going to learn the framework on the post-webinar process, because it's about getting feedback. We're going to identify what are the reasons people didn't buy. So if I did a post-webinar process, which Twin, you're going to learn it when I share my PowerPoint. If someone says I need to think about it, I'm going to include that in my next presentation. So I might do something like that says, hey, most people, when they get the opportunity to purchase my software, the first thing that they say to themselves is, I need to think about it. You want to write this down? Choose your commitment. And that's what I'll tell my audience. You don't actually have to write this down here. I'll tell my audience, choose your commitment. I want everyone here real quick to think of a pink elephant. Close your eyes real quick and think of a pink elephant. How many of you put your hand to the webcam? If open your eyes now. How many of you saw a pink elephant when you closed your eyes for a moment? Right? You saw a pink elephant because you thought about it. So that means thought happens this fast. So you get to choose your commitment. Is your commitment thinking about growing your business, or is your commitment actually growing your business? So if your commitment is growing your business, you're in the right webinar. Do you see how I just got everyone going from, let me think about it, to focusing on choosing a commitment? So towards the end, I may say something along the lines of, what is your commitment? Thinking about it or growing your business, okay? So let me go back to my presentation here because of what happens. Because a lot of your challenges in doing the webinar is going to be overcoming objections. And there's one way to find out what objections were present in the first place. It's what happens on the post-webinar. So yesterday, I broke down the first 3 sections of this system. Today, I'm introducing you to what happens after the event. So on your webinar, you're going to do the event and you're going to present your product, your solution. On your first event, ladies and gentlemen, my first webinar, I got 0 sales. True story. I felt defeated for a moment, but then I realized if you look at what's common between anyone's successful business is that they keep on going. They commit and they keep on going. So on my first webinar, I committed and I said, I'm going to do another one next month. And I'm going to progress daily. Every day, I'm going to progress. So what happens on your webinar is you're going to present and sell. Let's say you do the challenge. On day 1, I gave like a faux challenge or artificial challenge where I just said, hey, choose a date. And for those of you who upgraded, you got my snapshot. It takes you less than 30 minutes to build it out. I made it so simple for you. We charge 35 grand to our customers for it, but you got it as part of the bonus that Paulson twisted my arm for to give to you. But look, Paulson cares. He cares about you. He cares about me. I remember getting coaching from Paulson in the beginning, right? I remember getting this mindset shift from services and really deeply 100% going in on SaaS. So if you're like me and you're like, dude, I want to make recurring revenue. I want to make 20,000 a month, 30,000, whatever, 40, whatever your number is per month recurring, this is the route that I would take. So what happens after the event is what we call a post-webinar interview. It's set up as an interview because it does two things. And it's 45 minutes where you record on Zoom. So in my team, if I get, for example, 100 people on my webinar, I want my team to do, in my company, I want my team to do 100 post-webinar interviews in my company. In the beginning, so if I get 10 people on my webinar, I want to do 10 post-webinar interviews. If I get 5 people on my webinar, I want to do 5 post-webinar interviews. Have I ever gotten 100% of post-webinar interviews? No. No, but I strive to I've never gotten 100%, but I strive to get as many people on a post-webinar interview. And here's what a post-webinar interview is. You're going to record it on Zoom. So it's a call, 45-minute phone call, Zoom call, and you're going to record it on Zoom. This is going to be scheduled after they join your webinar. Then what happens with this call, you're going to receive social media content for it to get people to your next month's webinar. Also, you're going to get feedback on how you did at your event. The last thing is you turn it into a sales opportunity. So Paulson, we're gonna this is the only slide for the remaining of the training, but like we did yesterday, let's break it down, let's extract and answer questions about this because this is super critical. If you want to increase, if anyone here wants to increase sales from your webinar, this is going to be the process. So here's the framework, everyone. The first 15 minutes is actually just social media content. So you're going to ask questions like, what did you learn at this event? Now you're recording the whole thing and let them know up front, of course, you're not going to, do a switcheroo. You're going to let them know like, hey, I would love to get more people on this event. Is it cool if I record this call and use portions of it for social media? They say, yeah, sure, that's cool. Then you can ask them, what did you learn? And then when you ask them what did they learn, they're going to tell you what they learned. You get to cut that up and post it on social media to promote your next event. Next thing is you're going to say, hey, what's your biggest takeaway? Like, what is some things that you took away? And the person says, oh man, I came to this webinar. I learned I can automate and streamline my business in ways that I never thought before. This was the most amazing event that I've ever gone to this year because I learned about this, that. Okay, great. Hey, do you mind just doing a testimonial from me? It's already recording. Just essentially just share your experience and a little bit more just as a testimonial. In the first 15 minutes, you just got 3 different pieces of content at minimum of social media content to use to promote your next webinar. So even if that person, specifically that person, never buys your product, never buys your SaaS, they may say, I don't have a business, I don't need leads, I don't contact leads. I came because I thought I wanted to learn something new, but it's not for me. It's cool. That person is still helping you because they're creating social media content. Okay, any questions on number?
Yeah, real quick, Andy. So I just want to understand this. The post-webinar interview is a secondary event almost where you're jumping on a quick Zoom call or maybe a FaceTime or something and talking to an attendee that came to your actual event. And what you're doing is leveraging their experience at that event for content. And in addition, as a sales or closing opportunity, essentially.
Yeah, I'll get into the sales portion of it towards the end, but the answer is yes. We're leveraging their experience because we get to promote that person's experience. When they go to your, in the snapshot that I gave you when you upgrade, you're able to add different videos and testimonials, right? So when you have these testimonials, it's going to inspire people to not only register, but to show up for your next event.
That's serious. That move is really serious because most people that do the whole webinar world, I mean, I've seen thousands of people do the webinar thing, right? But the post-processing that they do is not really creative and strategic, like Andy's saying. that's big kudos to you, Andy. That's a serious, serious thing, because I can think of every workshop, every conference, like anybody that attended, we can do a interview ourselves. Like, this is something I'm gonna probably have our team implement for the conference, the summit that's coming up. I'm like, give us a quick 30-minute interview and we can leverage that for probably the next promotional event if we wanted it.
When I hosted in-person events for so-and-so big names, one of the things that I would have the videography team do that I manage and led is I would say, go grab some attendees and grab their their testimonial. Okay.
Yep.
And one of the strategies that we did at these events is that we shared, like, for example, we would, when someone, it was very strategic. I'm going to share with you guys an inside trade secret. I'm not really in that industry anymore, so I'm going to share with you an inside trade secret. When I used to speak, or when we had big speakers, especially big names come in, what would happen is, like, we would have the person on the side of the room, like a salesperson, or multiple salespeople of the speaker. So big name comes in, speaks. He asks a question. Who here, like, for example, I may ask a question, who here wants more sales appointments? Or let me backtrack. I would say, who here has a business? And there will be a group of people raising their hand that says, I have a business. We got salespeople taking photos of the audience of who here has a business. That allows us to identify who's actually a business owner versus who's not. So that's why if you go to those events, you got people walking up to you and say, hey, let me ask you a question. I noticed that you were a business owner, right? Well, because they have like an internal group chat with you as a photo, with your photo of you raising your hand that you're a business owner. When I saw that process and I implemented that process, how do I take that into the Zoom world? How do I get the videographer to record the video for social media content? How do I get to identify who is a potential customer? How do I get to find out what are ways that I could improve to deliver more value to my audience as it grows? This is why I share with you, ladies and gentlemen, but we don't have to spend a bunch of money on ads. I had over 6,000 people registered just in the last year for my events through this process. It fills up my sales team's calendar. They're excited. They're like, dude, my calendar's full. Andy did a presentation and he shared Progretta, our software. They already know the price. They already are interested. They've already identified themselves to be a potential candidate, and they scheduled themselves on my calendar. How amazing is that for a closer?
Yeah. I'll share a quick story. So just so you all understand the bigger strategy behind this. My very first thing that I did before starting my dental agency, I started working for a company, a advertising agency. They're no longer in business, but a guy named Bob out of Vancouver, he had a really big stem cell agency, right? These are like, back then, 2014, stem cell was blowing up. And I witnessed his entire team close like 380 grand in one Saturday of standard marketing agency retainers. You know what he did? He got on stage, became the sponsor of the event, got on stage, and we're in Florida, by the way, Fort Lauderdale. And it was like maybe like 300 or 400 doctors and chiropractors who were doing stem cell. And he got on stage, talked about marketing in general, and it was just kind of a vague presentation. But at the end of the presentation, he was like, hey, listen up, everybody. I'm going to give you 6 months worth of marketing. Text this number. And this is before automations were like live, right? So he had like a 5-digit number, and it was like a zip code looking thing. And if anybody wants the 6 months for free, talk to my 3 guys in the back. And I'm standing in the back too with the 2 other closers. So he made me a closer that day as well. Talk to those 3 folks. And we had these like contracts, and these contracts were like, have you ever been to like the mechanic where they have like a white sheet, a blue sheet, and a red sheet? And it's like carbon, right? And we had these big contracts ready to go. All they had to do was put their name down and decide how long they want marketing for. So everybody would put down 6 months, 18 months. They chose the term themselves, and Bob sold it for like $4 grand a month. And that day was the first time I was like, holy moly, I've never seen anybody do 380 grand. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, I could have paid off my house with that. It's insane that he was able to do that from the stage. On this webinar strategy, the grand scheme of the whole thing is not that different. It's not different. We're just going digital. That's the only difference. And the great thing about it is this is evergreen content.
Yeah. I have webinar content from 2 years ago, 3 years ago that I'm still using, that because your audience is going to say, I want to find someone that looks like me or has a similar scenario that I have. And so if they're able to find someone, even if that person who did the testimonial is not a current customer or is not a customer or never purchased, they found someone that looks like them. So it cycles people into your world, into your atmosphere. And the way that, for me, the value of the webinar is so, like, I have most of my most amazing clients that would fly to Las Vegas. We'll do VIP days. We'll spend the day together. We'll have dinner together. I'll meet their kids, meet their family, and I'll fuse in their family. It all started from a webinar. It all started from this one little sale at the beginning of a webinar a few years ago. Some of my best customers that are really almost best friends, all of them started from a webinar. My wife is my wife from a group presentation. I met her in 2019 from a group presentation. She was front row at an in-person one, not a webinar, but in-person one. And
Wow.
so what I'm sharing with you is, think about bigger picture. You're building a tribe here. You're building a community here. You're building a group of people who are saying, I identify with exactly what you shared. While you're building a group of people who are like, dude, I don't like anything you said. I don't like anything you shared, and I'm not buying. And guess how much time it took you to speak to both of them? The same amount of time. Without spending a minute more, you spent the same amount of time, and the audience was able to identify if they're with you or if they're not. It's not about convincing a bunch of people who aren't business owners, who don't genuinely have a need for SaaS, who are going to churn tomorrow anyway. It's not about convincing those people to magically become a business owner and buy your SaaS and then leave next month. That's not what it is. What this is putting a group together and allowing them to identify and say, I need your solution, and I'm going to be with you for a while because you're solving a problem that I didn't even know I had. So I hope that creates a different perspective.
Yeah, Andy, also, I think the folks that have the biggest advantage and they don't even realize it are agencies and SaaSpreneurs that are international. Like if you're in Europe, Africa, if you're in the Asian countries, Australian countries, like if you're in those kind of spaces, compared to the US market, you don't have a lot of events around entrepreneurship to begin with, right? Like we have in the US, we have BNI and chamber. Well, BNI is international, but like the chambers, meetup groups, like there's so many different events where people are just kind of tired of events sometimes, right? But if you go to other countries, you might be the very first person in a local market that for the first time ever put together a virtual event, right? I have a SaaSpreneur that I kind of follow very closely in Sweden, right? And this young man, I think he was like 23 years old. I think he was the second or the third like SaaSpreneur in all of Sweden using high level. And everything that he did, people were just so amazed because nobody's ever seen him before. They didn't even know this was possible. They've never heard of a landing page. They've never heard of marketing at a digital format. They're still doing print media, right? So if you're in the international communities, go run to this strategy because more than likely the market is not oversaturated with so many different noise. Andy, can we talk about automations? Because I think that was the second thing that you had in mind, if I can remember. There's a lot to, you have the follow-up interview, the follow-up content building, but what are the automations? Do they get sequences? Do they get, is there a feedback loop that keeps them engaged?
Right now, for this group, my goal for everyone here is to create activity. We can optimize later, everyone. I see some of the DMs and messages inside of this chat that you already launched your snapshot, you already launched it. There's a way for you to get more robust systems. However, right now, kind of like Rob, what I think his name was Rob or something, but Rob did, where he already got 15 people. You get 15 people and you get 4 sales of your SaaS, and those people are paying monthly, and you stack over time. The snapshot that I gave you can do that for you.
Yeah, I
Now,
think you're talking about Ryan, right?
oh, I'm sorry, not Rob, Ryan. Yeah, maybe Ryan.
Yeah. Maybe during the
Ours.
Q&A, Ryan, I'm hoping he would share how he got 15 people and he attended day 1 and day 2 so far. So
Ryan, bring it up. Raise your hand and identify yourself when we do the Q&A section. But so the goal here is we're just going to send out an email after the event. In the snapshot that I gave you, I break down the custom value and how to implement it already. So that's already, this is already in your snapshot, by the way, everyone. Now, I'm sharing with you what happens when they're on Zoom with you and they're in front of you. So the first 15 minutes, what we're doing is we're gathering social media content. Now, the next 5 minutes, many of you are going to ask about, like, how do I do my presentation? If there was a 4th day, I would share with you more on the actual presentation, but there's not. So what I can do, Paulson, is I can add to that, like the snapshot in the Loom video later, if that's cool, a little bit more of an instructional guide on how to do the presentation. Would that be valuable?
That'll be huge, because that was one of the bigger things that I had a lot of questions on, is like, if we can give them maybe like a template slide deck for those folks that upgrade or something, that would be good. Even if it's like 2 or 3 slides or something, just to give them a framework of, hey, here's what you need to put down. That'll be cool. If not, no worries. But
so let's do this. Let's do this. For those of you who upgrade, this snapshot, this build out, this framework that you're seeing here, that some of you in the chat box are like, oh, shoot, this is cool. Like, guys, this is 4 years of blood, sweat, and tears for me. This is 4 years of having to figure out a process that would allow me to be healthy, weight-wise and healthy-wise, and still have a successful relationship with my wife, still run a business and a team, and make enough money that I can live the lifestyle that I want, and still grow and have enough financial abundance to market and acquire businesses and do all the other things that I want to do. That's fun, while having time freedom. This is why I sell it for 35 grand a year. and you're getting it for when you upgrade. So when you upgrade, just know, put some respect on the snapshot, okay? Put some respect on the snapshot. Now, number 2, for those of you, I see the comments and the questions about the 90-minute presentation. In the snapshot that you get, you already have a Loom video. Now, that Loom video, when you meet with support or you get the link, however high level delivers it to you, it comes with a Loom video. I'm gonna add, there's a way for me to add. So I already know that on the back end. I'll add a template slide deck that you can start using. Would that be cool? Put your hand to the webcam if that would be super cool if I got you a template slide deck. So for those of you who upgrade, I'm gonna add this. It's not built out yet. I still get to complete this. Yeah. I'll have it complete by the end of next week, okay? Because we just made it up right now.
Yes. Yeah, like that was not planned, just FYI. And I'll follow up with you on it, Andy. So help me understand the automations, because that's kind of bugging me in my brain. Like, what are the processes? Is there a 90-day sequence or something, or are there any kind of thing that you do to at least bring people back for a second webinar?
There's no 90-day sequence. So we have 2 versions, if you remember, Paulson, here. We have 2 versions of the webinar snapshot. We have the basic and then we have the pro. What I set up for everyone here is the basic, because that's going to get you going within 30, 40 minutes. And like Ryan he already has people registered, right? He upgraded, so on and so forth, got the snapshot. It took him 30 minutes to build it out. That's on the basic. On the pro, there's a little bit more advanced back-end follow-up sequences to get people to follow up. However, what I want to share with you is, if you just use the basic right now, what I would do is I would just resubscribe people back to that and invite them to come to the webinar.
Got it.
So that's one manual step on the basic, because I wanted to make it as easy as possible for you to launch.
Yeah. And one thing we do internally with high-level events is we tag people that registered for a certain event, right? And then if we ever want to, and you want to use something like Smart Lists inside a high level that allows you to manage your audience. But either way, you may want to tag them for your first round. So that way, the second round happens, you include that audience that already registered once, right? And then over time, imagine this on your 6th webinar. Imagine the 6th webinar you may have, right? You have now the 30th new speaker out of 5, right? Now, on top of that, you have audiences, even if it's like 10 or 15 people, now it's like 60 or 70. That's your new baseline. Like we have a mantra inside High Level. Each quarter is the new baseline because we break records every quarter. So every quarter becomes the new baseline, right? Like that's just the way we look at every department, every goal, every single thing. The goal, if you got 15 people to register your first round without really trying too hard, more than likely that's your new minimum, right? The second one, you need to go up to maybe 40, maybe 50. But either way, let's get back to it. So Andy, is there anything else you want to share for day 3 as far as content that we need to go over on strategy?
Some of the folks are asking about, I'm seeing consistently in the chat that if you didn't get the Loom video that I break that down, Paulson, is it that with success that they go through and get that?
They have it. I'll address those questions during Q&A because it's the same questions that for all, that I get. So we'll address all of it at once at the end. And remember, guys and gals, like we'll talk about the offer as soon as we're done with the content. So let's go to the second part, 5 minutes feedback, ways to improve the messaging, sales.
Yes. So for the first 15 minutes, all social media content. We're just asking questions, getting social media content. Next, we're going to go into 5 minutes, the 5-minute feedback loop. We're just getting 5 minutes, just asking them, hey, question for you. You came to the event. What are your thoughts on it? And what are some ways that I can improve? Because my goal was to really drive value to the audience about leveraging automations or about leveraging marketing funnels or about leverage, whatever your 2 features are in the software. And they're going to tell you upfront why they didn't buy and what was wrong. And so they're going to say, well, what I would suggest doing different is, I think it was a little bit confusing. There was a lot that you shared. I think it was all good. But if you just shared the top 2, like it would probably been more clearer for me. And let's notate that. No harm, no foul, nothing bad. We'll just notate that because this person is your coach. Your customers are your coach.
Yeah, don't feel so offended. I promise you.
Yeah, don't feel offended. Like you can DM me and say, hey, Andy, I thought your presentation was not that great. I'm gonna say, what made you think that, and how could I improve? Or you're gonna say it was cool, whichever. Or it's all a learning curve. Next thing is, hey, you're gonna ask. There was an offer that I did. Actually, what I would do is switch these 2. Is I would go into the next one. The second one that I would ask a question on is what are some ways that I can increase attendees? You came to my webinar. How did you come? And what are some ways that you think I can increase more people? You let them know your request, because ironically, some of the people that you're talking to may already be influencers. And by you letting them know your desire up front like this, like, hey, I'm trying to find out some ways I can increase some attendees, they may say, you know what? I have a connection for you. That has happened to me countless and dozens of times on my PWIs. I have a connection for you. Let me introduce you to Jeff. And Jeff has a group that they all would love that, right? So by being specific and clear, asking them, what are some ways that you think I can improve my attendees? They may connect you, as well as they may give you some different ideas and strategies that you may not know of.
Another thing is, like, you don't need to have an interview on a Zoom webinar. If you're able to at least have the opportunity to just jump on a quick phone call and get feedback, it's still worth it, even if you can't leverage that for social media content. Some people record it and turn it into audiograms, okay? You can create content with audio only, but don't get stuck on the medium and all these things. Still talk to the audience, talk to them, figure out what they want differently. Good.
Yeah, you don't have to be attached. Although I said Zoom, don't be attached, especially right now when we're trying to create activity, we're trying to create your tribe, we're trying to create your database. So if that person's for whatever reason doesn't have Zoom or can't go on Zoom, you can do a call recording, let them know that the call is being recorded, and that of course that's a great strategy, Paulson, doing the audiogram. The next thing is I'm gonna do the feedback on ways to improve sales. And you'll communicate and ask them, which is going to ultimately lead to number 3, but you'll communicate and ask them, hey, I sold an offer on the webinar. Do you remember that offer? Find out if they even remember that offer, if they were present, because for whatever reason, we've had people, I mean, out of 6,000 people, I've had a ton of different scenarios. We've had people who had their phone, they're doing the webinar on their phone, and they were doing the dishes, and the kids came in screaming, and then they were handling the kids, and they didn't even see my sales offer, right? They wanted to buy, they didn't see my sales offer. So ask them, do you remember that offer? And if they say yes, then great. What are some ways, I sold it to the whole group. What are some ways that you think I can improve my the amount of sales that we got on my software? Their response is your golden ticket as to how you're going to overcome the objection of whatever came up for them. So whatever they share with you is a tool for you to use, number one, to increase and add to your presentation. Number two, to support that individual with clarifying some concerns or objections that they have. So if someone says to you, if you say, hey, Barbara, you came to the event, do you remember that offer? Yes, I do. It was great. It was a great offer. Barbara, what are some ways that I can improve the sales of that? Well, I think if you just, I think less. I think because for me, I was still stuck on the automations portion. I wasn't quite clear. And then you quickly went to sites and how cool sites are. And then you talked about funnels. And then you talked about, I'm looking at my notes here, John, Andy. And then you went to missed call text back. I was so stuck on the automations that when you got to the end and you told me to buy, I was still on the automations part. So maybe less is more, and talk more about the automation, because I think that's what everyone will probably be more interested in.
Yeah, what's funny you say this, because like in our 5-day challenge, this has happened quite a bit of like people will present the one Trojan horse offer we're teaching everybody. Hey, missed call text back, don't talk about anything else. But when they get to the offer presentation, in the offer, they value stack a bunch of different technology pieces like funnels and landing pages and all these different things. And some were addressed, some were not addressed. And even if they were, they don't know how it applies to missed call text back. So it's important when you present an offer that you don't overstack. Okay, it's very important, because if you don't have a clean punch, you more than likely won't be able to follow up and close the deal. Just FYI. So keep it very, very simple. When it comes to the follow-up, so do you have separate sales calls in addition to these post-webinar interviews, or is this the actual sales call included all in one, Andy?
It's the same sales call. So at this point, we're only 15, 20 minutes in on the call of a 45-minute scheduled call. Okay.
Oh, it's a scheduled call.
It's a scheduled call. So if you remember everyone in the diagram here is that we send an email and we ask them to do a call.
Okay, and they self-schedule, or you have an appointment setter that schedules that, or do you force a schedule on them? Like, what does that process look like?
Great question. Actually, that's a great question. So here's what I've done over the years. On the actual webinar, mine is like audate.net/PWI. So I'll tell everyone, go to audate.net/PWI and schedule this call. So I'll have everyone on the webinar actually just schedule the PWI already. That's how I've increased my numbers. Number two is that we have this email automation that goes out and that just says, hey, would you please schedule a call? We want to hear feedback. We're not saying that it's a sales call. We're just saying, hey, we would like to, because that is true. We just want to hear their feedback so that way we can improve, whether they buy or not. So we're going to ask them to schedule the call. And usually the people that I've seen that schedules the calls are the people who are most interested in not only the offer, but the content and continually building the relationship. There are people who are just never going to talk to you again. And that's totally fine.
Well, one thing I recommend is, especially for the local market, if you're in SaaS, you don't need to niche down, just focus on all local, okay? What you can do is offer a 15-20 minute local marketing strategy session. And you want to let them know, as an exchange for the free strategy session, I'm going to ask you feedback about the live event that you attended. So they go in with an expectation that it's almost like a feedback survey kind of thing. At the same time, they're getting something out of it. Just FYI. I've seen a few people do that. So exchange a strategy session, for feedback of the event. And at the end of the day, it's a closing call for you. It's a feedback loop for you. You're going to learn a lot from it. Make sure you record these calls, even if you don't record your webinars, because I understand some people don't want to listen to themselves, but record these post-op calls. Okay.
So at this point here, if remember, I know it says it for the 5-minute feedback. The way that you're going to do on the 5-minute feedback is, number one, ways to improve the messaging. Number two, ways to increase attendees. And then you'll do ways to improve sales. So you just ask for feedback on what are some ways to improve sales. Then we can transition to the sales portion of the call, which is, hey, I made an offer. I noticed that I expect that you're talking to someone who didn't buy. If you're talking to someone who did not buy, then you're just going to ask, hey, I noticed that you did not buy the offer. Can you just share with me, why did you not buy the offer? Now, if you're talking to someone who did buy, just ask them, why did you buy the offer? Both of them. Now, the reason why you're going to ask the person who purchased, why did they buy, is because you're going to reinforce that action of whatever it was. So they may not care anything about automations, but they all said, I love the conversations tab that I can connect, my Instagram, my Facebook, my text message, my email. I loved all that. If you hear that 10 times, that your whole audience loves the conversations tab.
Pattern, yep.
And you see that, you hear that 10 times, you see a pattern there. And no one cares about sites when you present the sites. Then focus on the conversations tab next time. Remove sites. Okay. Now, for the people who did not buy, find out, why did they not buy? Let's say, hey, I'm asking for feedback, or why did you not buy? They'll tell you why did they not buy? Because of money, because I don't have the time, or I've heard this before. I don't feel confident that I'm going to be able to deploy it myself. Right? So that's when I can identify and communicate, oh, we have this course, we have this training, we have this available to you to supplement that, right? The next thing that you're going to do is if they didn't buy, then you're going to represent the offer and overcome any objections. So all the objections that you listed, I got to talk to my wife, I got to talk to my son, I don't understand the technology, how do I know it's going to work for me? You just overcome any of those objections by answering their question. An objection is a question of concern.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And by the way, if any of you are like really not that strong in sales and you want better like clarity and how to kind of navigate, jump into our 5-day challenge. Like, we teach sales and marketing in that course. It's only like 1 week long. You jump on a quick live like this and hundreds of people jump in. And what we do is teach sales how to lead with one offer. Okay. Quick question for you, Andy. Is this you that's doing this, or a team member?
So everyone, if you have a staff right now, or if it's just you, this is going to work for you. I started doing the PWIs. So I've done a lot of PWIs. I've done hundreds at this point over the years. Now, I was doing the PWIs before selling SaaS, but because I was selling other products with using this process. What High Level did, mind you, it used to take me 3 hours myself to build out the campaign every single month, and I would forget, and so on and so forth. This is all automated with High Level. High Level made this a lot easier and much more scalable. So what I'm sharing with you is, I started. It was just me. I couldn't deploy something to a team before I did it myself. So I did this myself a lot of times, and then now I've given this framework to my staff today, and my staff deploys our PWIs. I have a team right now that's managing our PWIs from last week's webinar while I'm here.
Yeah, and remember, when you build these things out, one thing I always realize is people overbuild processes too early, especially in the agency game. They're like worried about SOPs, and they have 2 clients. And I'm like, man, you need to get to like 100 clients before you worry about SOPs. Right now, it's just set appointments, close appointments, and sales. SOPs don't matter. No need to drown inside ClickUp and Basecamp and all these project management tools. Like, it's one of those, I don't know what it is, either processes or automations. Most beloved marketing agencies love hiding behind that so they don't have to deal with sales rejection. I know that's deep, and I'm telling you things that you don't want to hear. You may hate me for it, but because I love all of you, I'm going to tell you how it is, because I'm an agency owner myself of the past. It's easy to hide behind automations. It's easy to hide behind process building, team building, and not deal with picking up the freaking phone call and closing the deals. That's really what it comes down to. So what else on the same offer from the webinar? So you don't change up the offer, you don't give them, additional bonuses or anything, like it just clean from the jump.
Nine out of 10 times it's just the same offer. I'm just overcoming the objection or like the question of concern that they had, and I just closed them on the same offer. Because remind you, on the webinar, someone asked like, "Hey, why is it 90 minutes?" I'm going to be adding the presentation framework as part of the Loom video. It's a link that you should be getting from Success when you upgrade. Now, so next week you'll see it there. So just go to that same link next week, and you'll see the updated with you'll be able to download a PowerPoint presentation or a Google slide presentation that with a template, as well as a video sharing with you the 90 minutes. You spent 90 minutes presenting and delivering the value and sharing so much value about this offer. The last thing I would want to do is ultimately just switch the offer and represent a new one. So if you can stay in the same offer that you presented. Now, it is possible, and 1 out of 10 times that I may experience this, it is possible that what you sold was just not a good fit specifically for that individual. And then if you've identified that in answering their questions and getting feedback, 2 things. Find out if that same person's experience is equivalent to other people who are coming to your webinar, because you may be presenting the wrong offer in the beginning. But number 2, shift that offer and create something new. So you may sell a different features of your SaaS. Someone may say, "Hey, I don't need conversations. I don't need automations. Andy, I'm just starting out. I just need a website." And then I may reposition this offer. It's still going to be my SaaS. I'm a SaaSpreneur for life. Like this is still going to be my SaaS, but I may share a different feature. And the person may say, "Hey, Andy, you shared about conversations and automations. I don't need any of that right now. I just need a website to show my family, to show my friends, to show my potential customers that I'm legit. And that's what's important to me." I'll say, "Great that you brought that up. Let me actually open up my screen and share with you that there is sites in there in addition to everything I shared." And then that's when I just reposition the same offer, but for that person. So 1 out of 10 times I may reposition it, but it's still going to be my SaaS at the end of the day that I'm selling.
Yeah. And every scenario that you go through, turn it into content, right? Yeah. Hey, here's how I failed an offer. Here, like create content around it. Here's how my landing page didn't work, right? Here's how I, doing a survey. Like I've seen people just go back and forth, take anything and everything that's happening in their business and turn it into content. So Andy, would it be a good time for us to just go over the offer one time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 100%. Because what Paulson shared, while he's pulling up his slide deck for that, what Paulson shared is when you get this offer and you upgrade, I'm not getting paid on this offer or anything of that nature.
Neither am I.
Neither is Paulson. But I went through this. I've had the emotional toil of like, damn, do I leave what I'm comfortable with? I'm an agency owner by trade in the beginning. I was doing done for you services. I'll build your website. I'll run your PPC ads. I'll run your Facebook ads. I'll do this automation for you. I'll do it all for you. And I'll charge you a lot of money. And then for a while, Paulson is like, "Dude, become a SaaSpreneur. And I'm like, man, I can't leave $80,000 contracts for $297 or $497 a month. But ladies and gentlemen, when I share with you, like stress has left my body. Weight, I dropped to 40 pounds just by being a SaaSpreneur. I'll share it with you. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see it. I dropped 40 pounds just being a SaaSpreneur. My relationship with my wife is much better. We're talking about having kids now and a different lifestyle. Why? Because I became a SaaSpreneur. I'm less stressed out and money comes in reoccurring. So I'm an advocate for this entire program. Why? Because number one, I went through it. I went to the mastermind. I went to the events. I got the training. I met the people and I solidified my stake in being a SaaSpreneur. Number two is I got the information that was necessary to evolve. That's what you're going to learn in the SaaS Launch course. That's what you're going to learn by being a local hero. I have local customers because I learned from Chase. Hey, this is what you got to do, Andy. I got local customers here in Las Vegas, not people on Facebook, local customers here in Las Vegas because I ran the play from Chase. And I did my own challenge. And then this webinar snapshot, it took me 4 years to build. I charge 35 grand a year for people to implement this snapshot. You're not paying me $34,000 for this. You're paying 35 grand for this. And when I partnered up to do this training this weekend, or this training, Paulson, he said, what can we give that's the most valuable? I said, look, the snapshot, but it's going to be hard for me to give that up, my friend. And he said, dude, let's do this. And, I made it happen, right? And, you already added it. I'm going to keep it.
Yeah, I just literally added Andy's webinar slide deck, and it's priceless to me, because that's the framework of like a great starting point. Like, that's the biggest excuse I feel people will have, is like, oh, I don't know what to teach, even though we're telling everyone just keep it simple. So the slide deck, I think, will really help them out.
Yeah. I want to make sure you have the tools. So that link that you get from support, it goes to my website. I'm gonna add the slide deck. It'll be a download. Like, you'll be able to go to a Google slide, and you'll be able to copy that and make a copy of it of your own. Quickly make some edits. I would like to see, for many of you, in the next 30 days, like Ryan shared his, he got 15 people on his webinar. In Ryan's case, I'm not going to predict his results, but in Ryan's case, if you got a group of people there, a portion of them are going to go to your webpage and purchase your SaaS. And the way to make it all automated with the API and the SaaS configurator is to be on the 497 plan. So this is why I'm like, hey, look, just upgrade now rather than later. So that way you get all the goodies and all the snapshot. In 30 minutes, you can have your landing page built out. You can have your campaign built out for your webinar. You can drive traffic to it. Next Friday, I'll have the content slide deck ready for you. So that way, when you go to that link, that you'll be able to download it, make a copy, add your words, add your product, and add your offer. And I'll have a video attached to it as well, Paulson. So that way I'll guide you.
Yeah, and just to simplify, if you upgrade to High Level's 497 plan, you get the Local Hero Playbook course that Chase has built. You have the 5-day SaaS launch course that I do. You have Andy's webinar snapshot. You have Andy's content slide deck as well. I'm sure it's well over 5,000. I literally just put a number there to just make it look good, but I truly believe in the 497 plan. You can automate your entire SaaS process, your entire onboarding, like literally everything you can do. You can create a bunch of different subscription plans, and some things that we don't even talk about is texting rebilling, email rebilling. There's even additional revenue that you can create off of it. And the link is gohighlevel.com/upgrade now. And I'm gonna be honest with you, if this is not going to be up for too long, we're going to probably take this offer down, because this is not something Sean and Robin and a lot of our guys are crazy about, because we're not salesy people. I twisted their arm to let me have an upgrade offer just so we can just create some excitement around the workshop just in general. So Andy, let's do this. One thing I want to share also is Andy's going to be there at the conference in October. And that's a really big deal. Give me a 1 in the chat if you're coming to High Level Conference in October. I'm curious of who I'm going to meet in person, rub shoulders with. I see a few people. Let's see. Okay, a ton of ones. Okay, awesome. I'm going to see a lot of people in Dallas, and we're going to do something called the SaaS panel. I have Andy as well as 4 or 5 other people that we're going to just simply ask and navigate through SaaS questions. Same thing for the affiliate marketing. Some of you may not want to do SaaS and you want to do affiliate side. There's an affiliate panel. There's also, I believe, an agency panel. And then there's 2 sides, right? There's the party crowd that just want to celebrate and have a great time because this is like a moment for them to just take a break. There's that side. And there's also like a mastermind type of environment, which we call breakout sessions, where a ton of speakers are there and you can literally take your notepad down and treat it as if it's a full day mastermind, and you can learn specific topics that you want to go learn. So there's enough for everybody. I think we had a split pay offer that might have expired, or it is expiring today or something like that. Ethan is part of our admin group. He's on this call. Ethan, do you know if we still have the split pay, or is that over already?
Split pay is almost over. I'm pretty sure they're not going to last within the hour. So if you do pop over, if you go in our Facebook group, I did make a post about that before the webinar. The link is on there. So please, if you do want to take advantage of this, Pop in the Facebook group, it'll be there for you.
Yeah, and Andy's going to be there, a ton of speakers. And by the way, like, let me just pull up the website so you know all the different speakers.
Someone said in the chat box, Paulson is looking good on his weight loss journey too. Everyone, man,
I'm down 50 pounds. I'm down 50 pounds.
Dude, I saw it, man. I saw it, man. The photo that they used to promote this this training was not even. I was like, that's not even Paulson anymore, man.
My wife gets pissed off about that. It's like, Paul, honey, can you please upgrade your photo? That's been there for a year and a half. And I'm like, I just haven't had the time to get to it. We've been busy building, you know? So you have all the speakers in here that you want to take a look at. Ton of power players. There's Andy right in the middle. But if you don't know who these people are, do some research. These are power players. Like I'm telling you, some of them are coming, and this is the only event they even speak at for the whole year. So grab your tickets. Like I promise you, if you get into a SaaS event, this is that event. Okay. Andy, let's do this. Let's go through Q&A. And if you can, today's the last day. So today's day 3. So if you have questions around everything we talked about, this is the perfect time. If you have problems with your high-level account and random other things that is not relevant to the conversations here, please go to our success room, our support channels. There are plenty of great talent there that's going to help you. So let's do that. Let's go through. I see a ton of questions. I've got about 10 questions here. I'll go up to 10 questions, okay? Andy, before we get started on the Q&A, I just want to tell you thank you, bro. This has been amazing. It takes someone with a bigger vision to come and say, oh, let me put my white label down and teach my fellow high-level family of how I'm doing 6 figures a month and plus, especially when you shut down and kind of sunsetted your agency world and went into SaaS all the way through. That's a lot of IP that you're just giving away. So person to person, man, big hug, big kudos to you for being a generous person. And I think that speaks your character. So I just want to say thank you.
Well, Paulson, first and foremost, thank you for hosting this event. This is the first one. Let's everyone give us snaps to the webcam for Paulson, y'all. Let's put the snaps to your webcam for Paulson.
The first one in 6 months that we haven't done these in a long time.
And he wanted to come out with a bang for you. For those of you who are joining or watching the replay, he wanted to come out with a bang and say, hey, I'm going to make this happen for you guys to really elevate. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't talk out the side of my mouth personally. I have spent time with Paulson. I went to the first event, okay, that happened in Dallas. I went to the headquarters, the whole 9 yards. And what I'm sharing with you is, if you're at a stage in your life, very much similar to like where I was, if you're at a stage in your life where you're identifying that what you desire the most right now is monthly recurring revenue, that's on autopilot. That's on, boom, every single day. Money coming, whether it's rebilling revenue, content AI revenue, workflow revenue, subscription revenue, whatever that revenue is coming in consistently. If that's your vision for your life, where you can hop up on a jet and go wherever you need to go, you can fly first class and live a different lifestyle than maybe you're living now. The opportunity is in the show up. I got my buddy Craig in here. He's supporting. He sat next to me at the mastermind when I went to Dallas. Right, me and him, he gave me his charger. Like we built a relationship over the years since I went to that event. When you show up to the Level Up Summit, you're on the SaaS mode. You're 100% serious with this. You show up to the Level Up Summit. You're gonna build relationships that you may have never could have created here. When what happens at these events is there's thought-provoking questions. A lot of the things that you may see, like, oh, that's cool, Andy's doing that, Andy's doing that. Oh, Andy identified his vertical, Andy identified his niche, Andy's doing this process, upsell, downsell. I discovered that at the trainings. There were times where Sean is speaking and I'm like writing, taking notes. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Oh my gosh, I need to do that. Paulson is speaking about business development. I'm like, dude, you were doing that in the dental industry? Wait till I do this when I get home. And I'm like, going back. Every time that I've gone to any and paid for any of high levels training, on the back end, in hindsight, it was free because of the profit that I made on the back end. So if you're at a stage where you're like, dude, I don't know if I should upgrade. I'm not certain if I should upgrade. That $497 is going to be the best $497 that you spend, because you're going to get all the goodies, implement your event, and just try it. Try an event. Try a webinar. Try to sell your SaaS to a group of people. Come to the Level Up Summit. Just get around the environment. Watch what happens in a year. What happens in a year. What's that?
Yeah, let's go with Ryan, because we had asked him to just chat with us, and then we'll go through the Q&A. Hey, Ryan, sounds like you got 15 or 20 people in your webinar. How did you do that, man? What happened in the last 2 days?
What's up, guys? What's going on? Great session. I really appreciate you all. Seeing you all. How did I do it? Well, actually, it's funny because I went and looked exactly how many people there are, and there were 12. And so while I've been on this right now, I have it up to 15. So I put in the work while I was here. So
did you launch it with a Snapshot, by the way? Is it with the Snapshot that you launched it with?
Yeah, I have the Snapshot.
Amazing. Congratulations.
How did you invite people into it? Did you post somewhere? Like, what was the
I did. So I guess the way that I would describe it is this. So I built my network on Facebook, and I did a hand-raising post saying, let me see, I can tell you exactly what I said, just in case anybody wants to snatch it. But it's nothing crazy. It's just a hand-raising post. I'm going to put together a small workshop showing you how I structured my SMS and email marketing for home service businesses. And you can insert whatever you want there. And then it's what you want, the invite. And then it's just boom, boom, boom. I have 84 comments here right now that I'm working through. And then all you do is, so the algorithm in Facebook is, it has like a 60-second timer. So when somebody comments for 60 seconds, it's going to show it to more people for 60 seconds. After 60 seconds, it stops doing that. Somebody else comments, it's going to start showing to more people for 60 seconds. So what I do is when somebody comments, I say, hey man, do you want me to send it to your, do you want me to send you a DM with the invite? Boom, 60 seconds again. Then they comment, yes, I want you to send it to my DMs. Boom, 60 seconds. And then I say, awesome, bro. I'm sending it to you right now. Boom, another 60 seconds. And then I go into their DMs. I drop the link that Andy, or not that he gave me, but we got the upgrade. So I made a link. I just dropped the link. They go into his Snapshot and it takes care of the rest.
That's insane. That whole strategy is called comment laddering or ladder commenting or something like that. And a lot of Facebook admins and people kind of forbid that because it creates over engagement and it takes away the spotlight from the admins quite often. But it's a great strategy for somebody to just go into an industry specific spot and just create a lot of traction. So kudos to you, Ryan.
If you're doing this in people's, I wouldn't do that in people's groups because they'll boot you. This I did on my personal.
Got it.
Personal page.
Yeah, and you can create a video on this too and be like 30 seconds, say, hey, I'm doing a workshop around SMS and email marketing, or keep it even vague. Even that's kind of too specific. I would just say, hey, I'm doing an online workshop for entrepreneurs. And then you bring anybody that's curious so you can later on curate the follow-up. Go ahead, Andy. Were you going to say something?
Less information, more registrations.
That is true. But great job, Ryan. Kudos to you, man.
Ryan, send me the link.
Guys.
Send me the link of your opt-in page.
Will do.
Awesome. Let's go with Joy. Hey, Joy, thanks for jumping in, and we'll do our 10-question Q&A. So Joy is the first one.
Andy, thank you for this, for everything that you have given us. And I attempted yesterday to request the upgrade for the for your whatever, and I spelled your name wrong, so it came back to me, but the request is out there now. So I am doing the upgrade because I want your pro series. So this, I'm grateful, beyond grateful for you and all that Paulson has gotten you to give us and all that you are providing for us, because it's wonderful. And I was able to do the landing page and everything in probably 5 minutes. And the only thing I had to come up with was why it was not updating and showing on my page, but it showed on the preview. So as long as it's showing there, it works. And Paulson, they still cannot figure out where you have got your 5-day SaaS challenge.
Okay, so if you have a ticket number, message that to me on Facebook if you can, or send it to me on here. I can follow up with it. We've created an internal doc for all the teams, and I've had about at least 1,000 people go through that doc already in the last 2 days. So I do know maybe it's the agent that you talked to, but either way, for anybody that needs, if you already are on the 497 plan and you want some of the things that we're talking about, you can just jump in on a call with our success room or support room. They will add that on for you without you having to do anything. So if you're already on 497, you get these bonuses we're talking about. But if you don't have any of it, jump into the 497 and our team will make sure you have all of it. I would say give it like a day or two, because there's a lot of billing that happens behind it, and you're not going to get charged up front and things like that. But what you asked for specifically is, hey, I want the workshop offer. I've upgraded. I want the workshop offer. They're going to match the billing and know and see that you upgraded. They're going to turn on the local hero course for you, the 5-day challenge course for you. And these snapshot links are provided to all the teams, in addition to the Loom video that Andy created to provide instructions for the snapshot. And now we're going to probably add the slide decks for the content that we talked about as well. And it'll just take them a little bit of time to set that up, but I know a lot of the teams have it. I'll follow up if you have a specific ticket number, Joy, and make sure you get it. Okay.
I don't know that I've got a ticket number, but I'll check and see what I've got. And I thank you. I love both of you. I appreciate you. And I'm so grateful for the both of you. Thank you for all that you're giving us.
Thanks for being here, Joy. Appreciate it. Let's go with Paul. Hey, Paul, good seeing you. I think Paul was one of our first 5-day challenge cohort members. I remember meeting him several months back.
Yes. And that's when I think one of the first takeaway from your thing was just focus on less, because I was like focusing on so many different features. But I want to just let everybody know that I actually started out with $97 per month, went to $147, $197, and now I'm at $297 per month. And so
you're saying
for the SaaS, yeah. So for my own SaaS, so
Got
I
it.
have now 2 customers on $297, and so with this, what Andy taught this. I mean, I've been doing webinars for the longest, and he threw a lot of gold nuggets, and I'm gonna implement them and gonna follow it to the teeth. My main question was, I installed the snapshot, and there were some questions in the custom fields. When do you utilize that, Andy?
There was questions in the custom fields. When do I utilize that?
Yeah, so like it asked some people like some questions about like, what do you expect to learn in the webinar? Do you add? Go ahead.
Great question, Paul. I mean, so that was, and I know exactly what you're talking about. So in order for us to make it all happen in the time frame and to make it as simple, we broke down our pro plan and our pro webinar snapshot, and we broke it all down. And what you're talking about is something that stayed in that. And we use that in the survey portion of the pro. So when people upgrade from the basic to pro, that's the survey. So for now, Paul, you being at 2 SaaS customers going to 297, what's going to be your goal at your webinar?
My goal, basically, I already said it with my team. My goal is to, on a monthly basis, get the first one 40 registrants and 4 sales.
So let's focus on
October.
What day in October?
October, the first Tuesday, the first Thursday.
Let's focus on getting the 40. Those custom fields, you can disregard it, disregard that for now. And let's focus on getting that 40 and, just share with me the success, man, and bring it back to Paulson and be like, dude, I got my 4 customers. Let's focus on that. Sound good?
All right. Sounds good, man. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm like a delegator guy myself. Like, I'm like, hey, let me get to the money and make like $1,000 quickly so I can hire like 3 VAs to just handle the rest. Like I I hate automations. I'm the only guy in high level that hate automations and all this technology stuff. And we used to even have like, let's see if Paulson can get through this dummy proof feature, launch. That's how we used to launch features back in the day. They would have me go through it and see if I can survive it because I hated it so much. But either way, get to the money so you can hire and delegate, and all this automations and snapshots, somebody else can do it, man. I'm telling you, you can hire somebody for $50, $60. They will spend 5 hours building out your whole world for you that you would spend 3 months building and learning. Like, don't learn how to paint the house, just hire the painter, get to the money so you can afford the painter. That's the way I launch every business that I've ever done. Anyways, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Sorry. Zach, welcome. Third question. This is our third round. We'll do 10 total because today's our last day. Okay, so take advantage of this. Zach, where are you checking in from?
Just checking in from Central Florida. Been through your 5-day challenge. Really enjoyed it. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
And Andy, phenomenal information. Man, oh man, so many nuggets. It's unbelievable. I know you said not to worry too much about it, but my question is, do you have a recommendation as far as a webinar program to use that you found to be good? Or Andy, do you have one that you use specifically?
Do you see how we're in Zoom right now all together?
Yes.
That's my webinar. I host multiple of these every month, just like this. It's the conference version. I don't even use the Zoom webinar version.
I hate the webinar version because it's just 2 people. I want the whole entire environment of every participant turning on their video, interacting, doing Q&A. Like, I'm a big fan of Zoom more than anything else.
In the snapshot, when you upgrade and you get the snapshot, there's a Zoom field. Oh my goodness, right? Ryan, you went through it, enjoy, you went through it. You put in the link and it everywhere throughout the sequence, your website, the email sequence, the technical sequences, it all fills in your Zoom. So that way it just reminds them to show up at that specific Zoom. So what I would do is just go to Zoom, create new room, get that link, post it in the snapshot. Your reminder sequence is done.
Can I provide my technology tip that I usually never do? Inside Zoom, instead of using your personal room link, create a recurring meeting and use that recurring meeting because you'll have the same links forever. Like, I use the same Zoom link for every high-level virtual event I've done in the last 4 years. This is the same link. Just if anybody wants to just jump into any training, it's the same link I use. So I recommend you creating the recurring room versus the personal room. The personal room, every time you use it, create a new one. Now you have new links. Then you have to constantly update all your custom values and all these different things.
We did the same thing. Yeah. We have the same Zoom link. That he's spot on as you do more of these.
Okay, great question, Zach. Let's go with Jim O'Brien. Hey, Jim, you are the 4th Q&A we'll do. We got 10 total.
Thank you, guys. Really big time blessings to you because you blessed all of us. And I thank you.
Thank you.
So 2-part question. First one is, during your webinar, do you actually have it so that everybody sees everybody else and the chats are on? And then the second part is there a good and bad time depending on the niche that you're going after?
Is that a question for Paulson or for Andy?
It could be either.
Go ahead, Andy.
So for the number one thing is, yes, I had to check. The same way that this infrastructure is the same way I host my webinars. So we record it the same way that this call has been recorded, chat. And the only difference that I do is I spotlight myself. So that way people majority of the audience is seeing me. And then I turn on mute for everyone, where everyone's muted. So in the security tab, when you're a host, you just press security and then click the mute button for everyone. Now, the reason I do that is because I've had people mistakenly unmute themselves and they're having a background conversation and so forth. So just to protect the environment. But just the way that this is exactly how I host a webinar. I share my screen the same way that I share my screen today. And then I just present my SaaS and sell it. And then your number 2 question was, is there a bad time to go to a niche? Is that right?
Is there a good or bad time to actually do your webinars? I mean, time during the day, early morning, midday, evening?
We can optimize for later. However, for now, if you've never done these webinars, there's no specific time. Do it in the morning. I have a client who is on our webinar system, who is on this webinar system. They pay 35 grand a year. She did her webinar at 6 o'clock at night, right? And then she ended it at 8 o'clock at night. So, and I share that with you because there are a group of people that's going to join. Today was 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So there's not a specific time. For now, focus on doing the webinar, get as many people registered to your webinar. We have people in here that already got people registered. So just get as many people, and then we can start tweaking and optimizing down the road. And then you can always email my support team, and my support team will answer some of the questions if you got the snapshot.
Thank you.
Yeah, great feedback, Andy. And I'm gonna add to this just so you see the bigger picture too. I had a real estate company that I built like 4 years ago. And in the real estate space, when we do webinars, Sunday nights worked like a charm more than any other day, because for some reason they sit and watch content on Sunday. And on Sunday, it allows us to now fill up our calendars from Monday onwards, right? So Sunday to Monday transition was like really, really noticeable inside the real estate industry. But then again, key is to just get it out. Eventually you'll do 2 of these a month. Eventually somebody else in your team will do these as well, right? So first step is just get it out. Don't focus too much on optimizing it. You can get to 100 clients in SaaS without you doing anything more than just one.
My wife, a few years ago, there was like an all women's event, and I said, babe, I'm not a woman, but let's get these folks to our webinar. And so I said, go up there for 15 minutes and just tell them to do this. And she got like 15 registrants to the webinar using the system I shared yesterday, doing an all women's event. So it's super easy, super simple when you follow the blueprint that I shared. That my wife, who's not a speaker, who's only seen me in this space, never doing it, to the point where she's getting results and getting SaaS customers using this process.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great question, Jim. So yeah, again, it's industry related as well. Like in the dentist space, when I was doing dentistry, those guys are busy doing, taking care of patients during the day. They absorb content at night. So they were active in Facebook groups around night. So it made sense for me to do them at night, but it's up to you, but just get it out. Let's see, Ketlin. Hey, how's it going? Is it Caitlin? Did I totally butcher that?
No, you said it right, Katie.
Okay.
Okay.
Question number 5. Yep.
I'm a brand new here, so I have like almost a month registered, and I'm at $97 the program, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can. And when I saw this webinar, I wanted to be, even though I couldn't make it all 3 days. And right now I'm in a hospital either. I'm waiting for my parents to finish the surgery. I just try to get as much as I can. So maybe I missed the things. All these 3 days, are we going to see them as recorded?
Yeah, the recordings will be in the YouTube channel, or if you already have a high-level account, you get access to the official high-level Facebook community. Inside the Facebook community is where I stream a lot of these events, including this one. And if you go to the featured section at the very top, you'll see the workshops that we do. And again, if you don't have a high-level account, you can still access the workshops inside the YouTube channel.
Yeah. No, I have a high-level account.
Okay.
But I registered to one high-level, but I think was not the right page. That was like with job and things, and I think it was a
there is something called the high-level.
Yeah,
there's something called the high-level official community. You just need to search for groups inside Facebook and get access to it. It sounds like what you have access to is the high-level job network with like maybe 10,000 people. That's where a lot of our virtual assistants hang out. Yeah.
So I think so. And so I had a couple of questions. When I reach the level that after I teach myself, that I can start to teach the others, how do you give them the link?
Through email.
Where do they get the
Yeah, you want to set
So,
up a landing page so they register, and then after that, you follow up with the registration confirmation, right? That's usually done through email, text, however you want to do it. They would get the link to join with reminders and things like that.
so when they register to that link, that means that they register to my account, so
Correct.
that I can be affiliate with them.
Yes, yeah. You want to set up
Yeah.
a sub account for your own agency wherever you set up your webinar registration pages, and that's where all those audiences will go to. Yeah, you have
So
a
it's
you'll
like
have a,
one link for all of them.
correct. Yeah.
Okay, and another question was that I never use those PayPal or Venmo, Stripe. So which one is the best one that I need to set up
Stripe.
to start like the affiliate program and things here on a high level?
100% Stripe.
Stripe.
Yeah.
Okay, that is beautiful. And I heard before the person that spoke, the first one, that he said that it's better to do it on your own page, like a Facebook page. I also have a TikTok page. I have more than 10,000 followers there. And so I can put a link tree there. But can we, what is the bad side of doing that to community? So I'm Albanian. And I'm also in 2 groups that is like with Albanian people. And between them, there's people that just have a 9-to-5 job, and I've seen them, they often ask about the online job. So I thought it was gonna be a good idea just to put to make like a whole webinar there and to try to teach them, and also selling the high level too.
Mhm.
But is there a bad side when you promote on those
Yeah, so what
groups?
you're talking about is not SaaS, right? We're not talking, what you're talking about is teaching people how to use high level so they can create jobs around high level, right? That to me is like affiliate marketing, right? So we have affiliate workshops.
I thought to start with affiliate and then to go to SaaS, because as I said, I've just 1 month started myself, so I'm
Okay.
try to teach myself and then to try to go one step higher to affiliate, and then my goal is to reach the SaaS.
Yeah, so I would choose one or the other. Those are 2 different businesses. 2 different businesses, they don't relate. One is
So
for
we don't go
local.
step by step.
No. Those are
Okay.
2 different business models. And I would take a look at it. And also, if you reach out to me on Facebook, I can send you our courses and channels and things like that. That'll also help you. Okay.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and go
Yeah.
with Omar. We have to limit everybody to 1 question.
Okay.
Respectfully, Caitlin. So I'm going to reach out to me on Facebook, and I'll answer more questions that you may have. Okay. Let's go with Omar. Hey, Omar. Omar, you there? Omar Diaz.
Hey guys, you hear me okay?
We hear you. We hear you.
All right. Hey, sorry about that. I had to go plug in my. Hey, thank you, Paulson and Andy, for this. It was really wonderful. You guys gave a lot of good information. Bear with me 1 second while I charge my computer. All right. Okay. So, yeah, 2-part question, really quick. So I'm interested in offering our CRM and automations. What do you think the best way is to offer a free trial for like 30 days? And then how should we secure a credit card for auto pay so that we could charge the customer after the trial period?
Yeah.
Are you
think this? Yeah.
Are you on? Did you upgrade, Omar? Are you on the
Yes.
497 plan?
Yes.
So inside of the 497 plan, there's something called the SaaS configurator. And in the
Yep.
SaaS configurator, you can set it up where you create a product where when someone purchases that product. So let's say are you going to follow the webinar system, or are you just asking like a
Yes.
general technical question?
Webinar system.
So when you do this webinar system and you present your webinar and you say, hey, go buy the webinar now on this webpage, because you set it up on the 497, because you're on the 497 and you upgraded, when they purchase, it would automatically secure their credit card on Stripe. That's number one. And it'll rebill them every single month for you. So if you choose $497 for your SaaS, it'll rebill them $497 per month. Number two, it would automatically create their sub account. Number three, High Level made it even easier, where it would High Level has a template where they send that to the customer, and it automatically has their email and password to log in. So because you're on the $497 plan, that whole entire process can be done automatically. And when I started, I got in the Zoom room with success. So if you go there, they'll be able to guide you.
Okay, good deal. And last quick question: what's a good starting price you recommend for a CRM?
What's the highest price that makes sense to you? No, that's real. That's real though, because like I promise you, every single person starts off at $100 a month. Then they finally like, oh crap, I don't have a lot of room here. Let me move it up to $149. Eventually, you become like Andy, where you're charging $750 a month. I've seen everybody go through that journey for 6 months before they actually listen to me. That's why I say, what's the highest price that makes sense to you?
That's a really good answer, actually. Now I might use that, man.
I would start at $497, honestly, because I mean, you can, I would start at $497 because I mean, you can get a lot from it, and CRMs are valuable.
Yeah, and then the other question is like, there's certain price points where you change the avatar. There is a difference between somebody that's willing to pay you $97 a month versus somebody that's willing to pay you $500 a month. Those are two different players. They eat dinner in two different places.
True.
You get my point, right? So it attracts a certain type of support system, attracts a certain type of onboarding. You more than likely will be able to upsell and expand offers for the $497, where 97s, you're not going to move too much, right? So higher the better. It's easier to go down versus going up. So start off high. Even if you do promotions, it's easier to just be like, hey, 50% off this month. That's better than you having to go backwards. Andy, how did you get to 750? I remember if I remember, you started off lower as well, like 149 or something.
We started off at 197, but I just did the math. 197 times 100, you're making less than $20,000 a month, and you need a team service, 100 customers, and so on and so forth. So we're at 749 for our introductory rate today, and we steadily climbed. So I personally sold 197, and I was forced to make up margin. I was forced to sell high ticket services on the back end. Now, if you're in the community long enough, you'll hear how much the challenges with doing all these services, right? Because it stunts your growth. So I was excited. I mean, even the spotlight session that I did with Paulson, I broke down how a 197 customer on our webinar turns into a $20,000 deal on the back end through our follow-up process and our coaching program. However, what I found was that, let me just go start off from the beginning. Hey, it's $749. You get the entire software, and that's our introductory rate, because on Q2 of next year, we're going up to $1997 for the software. So the same software that you sell for $97, we sell it for we will be selling it for $1997. Today, we sell it for $749.
Yeah. In addition, because you're doing the webinar style and you're teaching the software itself, your onboarding becomes a lot more smoother. Like the most sensitive time period of a SaaS company is when a user walks in for the first 10 days. Those 10 days are critical. It's like red alert. They can cancel for any reason. You better be on top of it, right? So if you do the webinar style, teach them content, they start using the platform, versus I've seen a lot of people who sell SaaS and they're like, oh, my clients don't even have to log in. Yeah. Wait till your clients cancel on you, because they don't even know that they paid for a software, right? So you want them to use the thing that you're actually selling, and make this, again, why we say don't teach too many things, because now they have to navigate through all the things you're teaching. So I would say start off really high, keep it simple, 1 or 2 different features, no more than that, and just slowly stabilize them the first like 10-15 days. That's when you need to get on a Zoom call with them as many times as you can the first 10 days.
And for those of you who are like in consideration of upgrading and you haven't upgraded, and to get all those bonuses in the freebie, when you go through those trainings and you go to the Level Up Summit, I remember when I might have been at 10 or 15 subscribers at that time. And I went to the summit, I got the knowledge and then I learned about the importance of retention and different retention strategies. I learned about the negative 14 days from Robin and how important those 14 days are. So for me, what has allowed customers to stay paying $749 is because of all these small nuances and things that I learned that gave me a competitive advantage, right? It's not just about customer acquisition. The last 3 days I share with you customer acquisition. However, it's not just about customer acquisition. It's customer acquisition, onboarding, and retention. Those 3 things is what you're going to learn that I couldn't teach in a 3-hour training over the course of 3 days. That's what you learn in the 5-day training. That's what you learn with Chase in the local hero playbook. That's what you learn by going to Level Up Summit, is the entire infrastructure of how to run your SaaS business. It's cool to think about recurring revenue, but you got to know how to acquire and how to keep. And once you do those 2 things, that's when you have a sustainable long-term business.
Yeah. Omar, thanks for your questions.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you.
For sure. Hopefully these Q&As are helpful. I think a lot of golden nuggets get flown out on the Q&A sessions. People love these and we get most replays on it. Sarah, how are you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you again.
Hey, Paulson, I know it's been a while, and guess what? I'm going to get to meet you this time.
Are you coming to the Level Up Summit?
I am.
Oh, man, we got to take a picture together. I've watched your journey over the last year or even longer.
Thank you. Yes, I'm going to be leveling up. Yes, I will be there. And Andy, I'm hoping to meet you. And I am coachable. Every time I attended your, webinars or challenges, I kept on moving up. So I started out with the 97, awesome. Moved on to the 297, moved on to for the 497. You talked about adding services in the back end, and I did. So right now, I actually niche down to just servicing med spa owners. Nice. So we do the back end services, but it's been challenging. So it was so nice to hear Andy saying that, the back end services, the challenges. I'm like, I'm in the right place because I'm working on a webinar right now. So it was geared toward teaching med spa owners how to leverage TikTok. And we were going to, teach them on how to do it, but in the back end, thinking about selling them either our monthly marketing service or done for you system already built out with everything. So this kind of aligns with what you guys are talking about right now. And to hear that you're charging, upwards of $749. I was originally thinking just done for you, $5,000-$10,000, just one shot, but a lot of them cannot afford to pay $10,000 at once. So question is, aside from just letting you know where I am, what I'm trying to get out of this, when you are doing the SaaS packages or whatever package that you're charging, let's say $497, is that just to use the Go High level in the entirety and plus the automations and things like that? Or are there additional, like either coaching or other services? Because we're talking about some people selling it for $49, $97. The questions I've gotten before is that, why should I pay you this much? Even like we're selling it for $297. And I even stayed away from that because it's like those questions kind of annoyed me. So I went into providing full service, and that's kind of where we've been.
Let me answer this question. So if you look at my background, I got 2 brands here. I have Audate Media and I have Progretta. Femi, who's in here, I see some people who are in my coaching program for SaaSpreneurs. If you're going to do service-based, if you are, which is cool, you can build a profitable, long-term, make a ton of cash. If you're going to do service-based, separate the 2 different invoices to the customer. Same way that if somebody were to come up to me in my marketing agency and say, hey, can you build a website for me on WordPress? Or I'm going to say, yes, you got to go buy WordPress and then give me the login access. I'll go log in and do it. So that's number 1, is to separate the 2. So you'll invoice for the software itself, and then you'll invoice for the services or the coaching as well.
So you're doing the service, but under a different brand, and then you're doing the software in a different brand.
Your invoice has to be separated because those 2 items have 2 different churn rates. We know no matter how great those services are, 76% or higher churn in the first 90 days. We know that. It's a great cash cow, but that's the biggest problem with agencies, right? They have to keep selling nonstop in order to maintain the cash flow. The SaaS has less than 5 to 7% churn, meaning 90% of your customers stay. So then it's a one-time sales effort. Then you start building the book of business. But there's nothing wrong with selling services. I just think a more stable book of business is for you to go heavier on SaaS. Let that be the recurring revenue and kind of stabilize your business. You can hire people, you can have money for paid ads before you go all in on service, right? That's just the way I would look at it, and let that be kind of the funding behind your move. Another thing I want to share with you, Sarah, because you asked, you kind of triggered these thoughts for me. When I jumped on with Rob and Alex when he had his first agency before we did High Level, right? He was focused on med spa. I was focused on dentistry. And we kind of shared a lot of our team members and things like that. We were great friends. You know, kudos to him. Probably the number one reason why I'm even at High Level. But we built a lot of different things for the med spa space. We had a contract with InMode, had a contract with Cool Sculpting. Like, we went all in on med spa. The one I'm gonna drop the biggest nugget for anybody that's watching still on the last day. I really think this is true. Create the content that you're going to teach around the customer's offer.
Okay.
So let me specify. If you're going to go after med spas, create a workshop around how to get Botox injections coming in through the front door.
Yep, we're focusing on micro needling.
Right?
So that's a great idea.
If I'm in dentistry, I'm going to create a webinar around how to bring in Invisalign patients, how to bring in veneers. Now, is it attractive for them to jump in? Because that's their biggest problem. They can't really push their offers. And when they do jump in on a webinar, guess what I'm going to teach? Well, before we talk about offers, let's talk about where we're going to bring in all the people into one place, which is the unified inbox. This is the landing page. This is how we make sure people can get scheduled. So then I talk about my automations. And then if I want to talk about how the traffic is managed, then I can talk about my traffic and how those appointments are created. But continue focusing on their procedures as your frontline headlines. Like, that's still the biggest way to attract those business owners into webinars, in person, whatever you want to do. Continue the procedure route. That's going to probably help you a lot and differentiate you among other med spa agencies. I really think that's one of the biggest nuggets, and I don't take it lightly, and I'm gonna stand on that. Andy, you want to add to that?
Yeah, think about the bigger picture for you, Sarah. But in this journey, if you're going to be using webinars to acquire customers, find out what is common between many of them. If it's med spas, put a bunch of med spa people together, host a med spa event, and find some med spa influencers who may have some consulting systems and so on and so forth, where you bring in the technology and service package to them, where you can get in front of them and talk to them about their core issue. So in Paulson's scenario, he found, when he was doing the agency work, he found the common denominator between them. Find the common denominator between those folks, get in front of as many of them, and you'll start seeing your SaaS go up and your services go up as well.
That's a great idea, because I was thinking about deciding one or the other, but we can actually do both. Yep. Depending on what they're interested in. Mainly, a common denominator for most of them is client acquisition. So that's what we're going to focus around and kind of supporting them. I don't want to take up more time, so I'm excited to meet you guys.
I'll share this with you. Here's what I've seen, and this is why I'm focusing on the SaaS. First and foremost, if I'm building a $10 million SaaS with a $100 million exit, and if I were to do that with services, it would be very challenging to scale. Number two things that I saw is even in the med spa, we have med spa businesses using our SaaS. Even in the medical field, like I'm thinking about one right now where they keep dropping their service provider of services. They're running ads and all these other services, but they're using our technology to do it all. So they'll say, hey, we'll give you access to Progretta, and then go run the ads. Okay, the ads didn't work for you. Okay, hey, I'll give you access to Progretta, go run Google ads. And they're going to different service providers. So they stay consistent with the SaaS, but they play around with the services until they get the results that they want. And then even when they get the results that they want, that's their new baseline. And you're forced to recreate new results consistently, where the whole time that they're on this journey, they're staying on the same SaaS. So just take that into consideration. You can use the service model and make a great amount of money long-term, you can keep customers, but like Paulson said, the churn rate is higher on the higher ticket service-based business.
You are both totally right. And most of them are burnt by other agencies. So they keep cycling, and then they are using the same thing. Like they know go high level so well because everybody's using it, but they're having to change every time because every agency is putting them onto their own. And the churn is just horrible. And now they're having trouble even making decision because they have been burnt so many times. That's why I was thinking about going into done for you, just, SaaS direction because of that reason.
Yep. Okay.
Awesome.
Great
Thanks,
round
guys.
of questions, Sarah. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you at our Level Up Summit.
Absolutely.
Excited for it. Ari, hey, welcome in. We have 4 more questions. So we have Ari, Matthews, Lewis, and Jason. So we'll go as quick as we can.
Okay, I'll do my best to try really, really fast. So thank you again for this information. I jumped in on day 3, but I'm going to be recording, listening to the recordings later on. However, I'm not sure what to do as far as service or SaaS. My question was about the pricing. My target is fitness coaches. So I just a little bit confused with how much should I be charging them. I'm going to do the webinar. But I don't know now with this question that that you guys did. I'm like, I don't know if I should do service or SaaS.
I think you should go 100% SaaS. The price is dependent on what brand you're building. Do you want to be the Toyota or the Bentley? You can build both and have a healthy business. You can do fine dining or McDonald's. They're both multi-million-dollar business. You have to choose for yourself on the lifestyle and the system that you're building. Me and Andy can't decide, right? But there are fitness coaches and fitness folks that charge $30,000-$40,000 for packages. So I know that market exists. And there's also folks that charge, $100 for database reactivation or one of those SMS campaigns, right? So you need to kind of decide whether you want to deal with the volume or lack thereof, but higher quality, experience that you provide for them. That's up to you. I can't decide, but what I want to make sure you understand is the choices that you have. Okay, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, Ari, price is made up. Price it's a made up number. You wake up in the morning, it's this price. Next thing is this price. Paulson, my snapshot, I sell it for $35,000. Paulson put $2,000. You got it for free today. So like it's all made up, right? So I would invite you to think about the bigger picture that you want to create for yourself, your family, and your business. Like he said, think about the bigger picture of like what brand are you going to be building. I know for me and my staff, they all said, hey, we want to be the concierge. We want to be the one you can call with a staff available. We got 24/7 support. And for my customers, that's what's important to them. And they pay for that, right? They pay for that level of support and expertise. But there are customers who are like, hey, look, I just want to pay $25 a month. And that's the most I'll pay for a CRM. And then there are people, but you get what you pay for. So what do you want to deliver to your customers? And put yourself in a position that you can deliver that level of experience for them. If you want to give them a premium level of experience, be able to charge enough that will allow you to be able to deliver that level of experience. If you want to deliver I want to be completely hands-off, not talk to anybody, then charge for that, but charge accordingly to what type of experience that you want to give to your customers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a lot here. Yeah, there's a lot here. Like in my dental experience, I was the guy that put on a suit, white collar, cufflinks, and I wined and dined all my dentists on a steak and dinner, right? Like that's the way we did onboarding. But when my second agency was in automotive, these guys were blue collar guys. I couldn't relate to them. They couldn't relate to me. I struggled. They're like, who is this guy wearing a suit inside my workshop, right? And I didn't belong inside a workshop, just personally at a level where I couldn't relate to them. So I brought in a business partner who was, very blue collar, good old, country guy. And he did really well where I struggled. So you kind of need to decide who you're going to be in that market as well, because now you have to play the part, right? Like Sarah, if you're doing med spa, like you have to be at a kind of a higher level of branding in general. Like they're not going to take you seriously if your branding is not that good, because they are very sensitive to how the brand is perceived, right? So it also matters in the fitness space as well. There are high ticket fitness that only work with NFL, NBA, and pro athletes and celebrities. And then you have your dynamic fitness guys that is a $5 a month thing. So just those are a couple of things to think about. But great question, Ari.
And there is
Thank
a
you.
market, Ari, there is a market too for whichever price point. I want you to think about that as well. I had in my weight loss journey, I had a coach that the price he gave me was $400 a month for coaching, and I in fitness coaching. So he would train me and work out with me on a regular basis. But he was always busy, never available. And what I wanted was someone who I can talk to and work out with and build a relationship with. Another coach charged me for the almost same service, same result, $4,000 a month. I'm with the $4,000 a month now, and I'm okay with that because I get what I want. So there is a group of people that is going to be in alignment with the price points that you choose. If it's low or high, just be comfortable with your price. Because if you're going to do the webinar system, if you say my price is $697, your customers are going to feel it, and none of them are going to buy. So be sure to be comfortable with it and start gradually growing, especially if you're going to be following the webinar system.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in October.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be there. Okay, awesome. Let's
Matthew.
go with Mr. Matthews.
Hey, yeah, can you guys hear me?
We hear you. The video is blurry, but yeah, we hear you. Oh yeah, I see you now. Yeah.
Good to see you guys. Thank you, Paulson, for this webinar, and thank you, Andy, for going over everything. So I run a video production company, and I had a question with regards to incorporating GHL into my business model. And I was just wondering, like, if I set up a client of mine with GHL, do I also like help set up video ads as well? Because I noticed that, Andy, you mentioned that you have Update Media on one side and you have Progretta. So I was just wondering, how do you break that down? What kind of business model are you implementing? And also, if you run ads.
I'll be very quick with this answer. So, Progretta is our SaaS. Audate Media is my marketing agency. I had Audate Media before the SaaS, and I was already doing services on other platforms. When we worked on other platforms, if you contacted my office for a Shopify store, we would build it. If you contacted my business for a WordPress site, we would build it. And you would go to our marketing agency, and we would tell you, hey, you need to purchase WordPress, or you need to purchase Shopify. So what I did was I take that same concept and just did it for my own SaaS. And what I did is I said, hey, we don't do anything on Shopify. We lost a ton of business doing that. We don't do anything on Shopify, WordPress, or anything like that. The only place that we work on is Progretta. That's the only place that we work on. And what that put my customers in a position to do is like switch over to our SaaS if you want it done for you services. So that was my transition into SaaS in the beginning. So if you're currently a service provider, everyone, and you're like, hey, how do I get into SaaS? For me, my journey was I did services only on my SaaS. That's it. So you couldn't hire me for another SaaS. Then what we started doing was custom services on our SaaS. And I realized the headache of that with custom services for every customer. Then we started streamlining our services that we built on our SaaS. So Audate Media, we would invoice you $5,000 for the same Snapshot funnel. We would invoice you for the same funnel. And then we would build it on your sub account in our SaaS. We found that helped with churn and it helped with retention. So that's why I kept the agency. But I'm dropping the agency and then now other people can do it. So that's been my evolution through this, where like, it's my last name, guys. It's my last name. It's something that's important to me. But for the bigger picture, the bigger vision, I'm willing to drop my last name. I just got to have my graphic designer recreate a new one of these backgrounds. But I'm dropping that to really focus on my $10 million SaaS that we're building. So I hope that creates a sense of my evolution, so that way you can have a direction. There's no right or wrong in this, by the way. You can build a sustainable long business with doing a bunch of services and stay on services. There's no right or wrong. That was just a journey that I took. And I got a lot of that through the, like, for those of you that upgraded, I got a lot of that by being in the community, by getting the different ideas and the nuggets and from Chase, from Paulson, and you're going to get all of that with the playbook and the local hero playbook, as well as the 5-day launch with Paulson.
Yeah, so absolutely. Your question is very relevant in the community. I have a business. I'm getting excited about SaaS. I don't know how to merge it. I don't know how to transition. That's really the problem, right? At some point, it doesn't need to merge. Just start fresh with the new business, right? And videography is sometimes one of those businesses that doesn't really match with SaaS unless you go down the content route and do social media and say, hey, you know what? I've got hundreds of video postings that I can provide for you as a small business owner. Here you go. Like, and that's the only way I can see people kind of gluing it together, by bridging social media. But if it's too hard for you to merge the old service that you had, or maybe, you know, an established service that you had, don't try too hard. Like, let it go in a sense and start fresh. And Andy is someone who was already doing 6 figures a month before he went into SaaS. And he didn't even listen to me and Sean and Chase. Actually, he started to merge it all together, start selling SaaS for like 30 grand a month. It was kind of crazy. And then 6 months later, he's like, guys, I went down to like $2,000 now. And we actually service the SaaS itself. Yeah. Then he went down to 750 of, hey, take it or leave it, do it yourself. And now no service. Yeah, there's no service. You don't want to do service. You want a product-oriented business at the end of the day. And I think you see that picture, but that don't get stuck on the transition of, you know, fitting a square peg into a circle, right? It's just at some point you have to probably let go and turn your previous service into a high ticket service. If you had previous Facebook ads or video packages, turn that into a $5,000 or $10,000 package for someone who can expand into from your SaaS. So like, you don't need to completely just remove it. Turn that into your high ticket for the future.
Real quick, for those of you who are like doing the service, SaaS service, true story. When I went to the event in Dallas, I live in Las Vegas. I went to the event in Dallas. Sean Clark was having a one-on-one conversation with me. And I just had met Sean, I just met Paulson, and Sean is giving me some nuggets. And he's like, a 297, this was like an act from God or something. A 297 customer is more valuable than a $40,000 customer. And I said, Sean, brother, don't play me for boo-boo the fool, man. You talk about a $40,000 customer is worth more than a $297 customer. That doesn't make sense. And he's trying to explain it to me. Ironically, guess what happened? A customer who had paid me $40,000 for a service, I forgot what the service was. It was like a course with a video recording, and then we would build it on the SaaS. That's when I was on the services plus SaaS model back then. And he calls me. He keeps calling me, and I keep declining it because I'm with Sean. I have a staff at my office that you can call at any time. He calls me, and then my wife starts calling me. My wife at the time was the project manager of my company. My wife calls me. When my wife calls, that's an emergency. So I'm like, hey, babe, what's going on? And she's telling me, hey, this customer keeps calling me, said they want to talk to you. So I leave the conversation with Sean to take this $40,000 customer. And his perspective was, hey man, I paid you 40 grand. I didn't pay your company, I paid you 40 grand. I said, no, sir, you actually paid my company. Look at the invoice, you paid the company, not me. And he says, well, I want to talk to you. You're the boss, I want to talk to you. And in that moment, it clicked what Sean was saying. It was the most perfect scenario because the 297 customer, you know what they're gonna do? So put a support ticket in, go through the proper channels. And I felt in my journey, if I want to build a large business, it's not going to be in the service-oriented way. It's going to be what what Paulson is saying right now to you. So when you upgrade and you go through that journey, like I did, it starts to click differently in your brain. Because today, I have multiple screens, so I can see on my other screen here in my sales group chat of how many PWI sales that they got. Guess what? None of them are going to call me. None of them are going to email me.
The beauty of SaaS is zero fulfillment. You could get to a world of zero fulfillment.
Yes.
I've seen it. Like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Andy, but like the top SaaS players today are all ranging 3,000 to 4,000 clients. All high levelers. We're talking about Pipeline Pro, DearDoc, Funnel Gorgeous, all these big companies that are now evolving off of high-level white label, all ranging 3,000 to 4,000 customers. And a lot of them are in consideration for $6-7 million exits. And those companies that are acquiring them know that this is white labeled, built on high level.
And think about it long-term, bigger picture thinking. Think about it long-term. The same energy that when you're a leader of your company, whether you have staff or not, when you're a leader of your organization, you're monitoring energy output. So if it's your energy that you're outputting, then you feel it a little bit differently than your employees' energy, right? But even if my energy is output for my staff, it's much higher when you're doing done for you services, because you're explaining what a landing page is, you're explaining what the funnel is, you're explaining all these things. You have service-based businesses. If 100 people bought my SaaS on a webinar, they all get the same automations. They all get the same text messages, same emails, same group onboarding, the same videos that guide them. And it's all automated. Compared to services, you got to start thinking of what you need to do and what you need to build out and what you're going to do for this person, even if it is a snapshot. Yeah. So I invite you, as you progress, everyone, as you progress through your journey, that you start just considering. You don't have to go from services to SaaS all in one day. Just start having that consideration of how you can transition. And ultimately, at some point, you'll probably do it. And which is why, like a couple of years ago, when I met Paulson, I was like, dude, Paulson, why would you leave your agency? That doesn't make sense. But now I see the bigger picture and what's really possible. And I've been applying it in my business in my life, and my life has never been the same.
Yeah. And I don't mean to hammer this point too far in, but like, what's the other choice you have? Raise a group of funds, right? Put together a couple of $1 million and go find some developers in, I don't know, Portugal, Brazil, and India, and try to see if you can put together a SaaS solution, right? Even someone like Russell Brunson said it, all roads leads to subscriptions in marketing. All roads. You cannot tell me which one doesn't. Coaching, where does it lead to? Subscriptions. Landing pages, subscriptions. Agency services, subscriptions. Obviously, it's a really short subscription of 90 days before you get canceled, but it's still subscription. So all roads lead to subscriptions. And the only choice most people have today is to go develop something from scratch. High Level happened to be the first company to build 400 features in one place, neutralize the branding and say, oh, go ahead, put your branding on it. Go ahead, go create subscription, keep 100% of the revenue. Only thing you have to do is pay us $500 so we can actually maintain the SaaS for you. That's your cost of running a software company. I don't know if this will ever happen in this industry. Like, I really don't. And I saw this happen in the IT industry, like maybe 15 years ago, when all these guys, they had these like Windows XP CDs and they were installing in people's compact Presarios, and you pay the guy 5 hours of time because he knew how to do the licensing. That bridge person is the new marketer today. You have to be an automation expert, and they can go hire whoever they want to run ads. Matter of fact, Facebook and Google calls your own customers every single day, asking the customers directly if they can help them launch their ads without the agency. Right. So anyways, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I'm about to get emotional here. Like, this is a really big point of why SaaS matters, right? But any follow-up to that? I feel like we just like bombarded.
But you're right, Paulson. Like, you're 100%. So like, for example, I used to be a service provider for ads, right, in my agency. And then instead, what I said, hey, let me go connect with 15 different service providers for ads and say, hey, we'll take care of the software fulfillment. You take care of the service fulfillment. Each 15 can manage maybe 5, 10, 15. At most, I've seen the biggest agency manage 20 customers of ad services. But I get all their 15 to work with me. And I just say, hey, just use our software when you do the fulfillment. And to them, it's like, okay, it's easy. I'll just do it on your system. But to have 15 different service providers work on our SaaS is how we grow our SaaS recurring revenue. So it's just something to think about, everyone. Like, when you're having the option and you're doing this webinar system, because the webinar system that I share with you, if you follow for the next year, you're going to get in front of a lot of people over time. If you follow for the next year. Now, are you going to be selling your services? Because what's going to end up happening is that your webinars are going to end up stopping because you're so bombarded with all these many services to manage, or you can just keep selling SaaS 100 customers, 200 customers, 300, 400, 500, whatever your number is, and you can keep on growing that. And which business would you want to operate in? A software business where your customers pay monthly and you don't talk to them for every single month? Because how many times do you have to call Sean? Sean just does what he wants freely, but how many times do you have to call Sean? How many of you actually call Sean? You don't really do it. They have a success team, and it's a software that you run on your own. So just think about the bigger picture long term. And I hope that this was valuable for you, Jay, and everyone else here who's considering services in SaaS.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you guys both. Thank you, Andy, and thank you, Paulson. I actually have a friend of mine. He's up in Canada, but we started doing video together. But then lately, I've been noticing that he's doing more GHL, and that's what really got me thinking. And I had a meeting with him. I was wondering, like, man, you're not even doing video that much anymore. That's interesting. Like, so he gave me like a walkthrough, and that's how it got. I started getting interested in it initially, but after this conversation, guys, now I see the big picture. So thank you both. I really appreciate it.
For sure.
Thank you.
And these conversations this type of a conversation happened with Andy like 2.5 years ago. We were fighting almost. I was like arguing with Andy. I'm like, bro, listen to me. Yes, you're making $100,000 a month, but I promise you, when you start selling SaaS, that value of that customer and the experience you have is going to be different. And he didn't believe us. And like now this is a real life example to have Andy even do a workshop around this, because he wouldn't have never advocated for this because he was already successful with the monthly business that he had. But thank you for your question, Jay. I think a lot of times it triggers a lot of thoughts, and we're not intentionally like thinking about golden nuggets to drop. We're just literally talking from our experience of like, man, we screwed up really bad here. Let's just make sure other people don't screw up. That's where my mentality is half the time. But thank you, Jay. Let me go with
thank you, guys.
All right, I'll jump in. Jason.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, I've been here all 3 days, and this has really opened my horizon on some things. I'm about to pop open some old Les Brown stuff too after seeing some of the pictures. So I'm getting the idea that, hey, we're separating the service from the SaaS. But I have zero experience like this. I came across this in an email, and this makes a lot of sense to me. But practically speaking, you land a customer. Practically, what happens next in terms of, I guess I want to make sure I understand the full expectations of, because I understand the experience you create for them will create the value, but what are the practicalities of, okay, am I showing them how to connect their Facebook and stuff, or am I doing it for them? Like, what's that give and take of, hey, this is done with you or done by you? Just some practical tips there.
Yeah, I won't be able to answer that question in depth, but in the 5-day challenge, we do day 1 through 5. Day 5 is onboarding. I talk about doing a 72-hour onboarding, what you should present to them. We even have a client onboarding snapshot that we give away for free. So that's all free to you if you jump into the 5-day.
Awesome.
But in reality, what you're doing is stabilizing the experience of the user, right? Before you expand and talk about multiple things, you want them to jump on a quick Zoom call with you, with their team members. And what you're going to do is integrate as many things as you can. Like, even if you're offering one service, let's just say we're doing missed call text back, right? In that onboarding, I'm going to integrate Facebook, Instagram, Google My Business, Yext, everything they have, because later on, when I do expand them with multiple things, I don't want to do a new onboarding. I want to get as much as I can get done in that initial onboarding, and you don't want to schedule them out too far away. Less than 72 hours is probably a good mark. Andy, help us understand your onboarding process. I know that's not something we even planned on talking about.
Well, let me ask you this, Jason. Did you upgrade? Did you upgrade to the 497?
Yes.
Plan?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So inside the SaaS configurator, because you have the SaaS configurator now, you're able to choose what features that they have. Are you going to do the webinar system? Are you going to do the 30-day push where you're going to host your webinar in 30 days?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you already schedule your date?
I am now, October 3rd. Let's go.
All right. That's how it is. That's simple. All right. So here's what I would do. Keep it simple. Less features in the beginning. Right now, sell it for whatever you're going to sell it for, whatever number you choose. But present the less features in the beginning. Don't unlock the whole entire software because you have the SaaS configurator, so you can choose which is available. So choose the least amount of features that would create value for your customer. And what you're going to learn because you upgraded, what you're going to learn in the 5-day challenge is what they call a quick win. I learned that so many years ago. Where I've already gotten coaching from Paulson and Chase and the team. So you're going to learn about the quick win. So on our onboarding, we got on a Zoom call, and the first thing that we focus on is what can we get that person? What win can we create for that person? And what I found out that was happening, man, is if you've ever it's a dopamine hit. So if they get this quick win, they already experience positive reinforcement through dopamine response. So when someone is like, it's like eating sweets. So you get them that quick win. That's what you're going to learn in that 5-day challenge. And some of the other trainings that you're going to get is on the onboarding is a few Zoom calls. That's what we do in my company, at least. It's a few Zoom calls. We're not delving the whole entire software. We're just focusing on what is that quick win that's going to get that person hooked and say, that was so, that was worth my $750. What else can this software do? And then that's when we can talk about adding features and upgrading and so on and so forth. So I hope that creates a perspective of what you want to accomplish during the onboarding, not the I'm not sharing with you the strategy of like, do 4 Zoom calls on this Zoom call, do this, do Zoom, you'll learn a lot of that through the training that you're going to get in the community.
I see. So even in your situation where you're starting, you even on your offer at 750, let's say, or whatever it is, you still have room to expand upwards when you get them on. Is that what you're alluding to? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. If you do a demonstration with Salesforce and you just see the basic automations that they give you and the price tag, I did a demo before high level. It charged me $50,000 for a basic automation that high level could do. They charged me $50,000 a year, and it was subscription. So like, there's a lot of room for at least for me in my business and the type of customers that I'm attracting. There is a lot of room to spread. I hope that creates value for you, Jason.
And
thank you.
If you're starting out fresh, I recommend going local. And from the data that we've collected with multiple companies, we know that a local business spends about $950 a month on software, whether they use it or not. So that market share per month is already available for you that you can tap into. And now if you think about the type of softwares they have, it's probably like one for like answering machine, the other for like caller ID, and the other for some random guy that sold the landing page. It's all over the place, right? So what you're doing is consolidating all of it and just saying, hey, instead of you paying average of $950, let's get you in at $500 a month. Then you wait like 10-15 days and explore other areas. Oh, you don't have any traffic coming to your website? Is it okay if I turn on Facebook ads for you? Now you're already selling someone that's already sold before, right? So then your expansion becomes a lot easier. But we teach all this stuff in the SaaSpreneur course, as well as the 5-day challenge. And since you upgraded, you get all those things for free. Just jump into the success room and they can turn those courses on for you in the university, okay?
Are there certain markets? Are there certain markets that we can target that we already know are overpaying?
That's the average of all local markets together. So I don't have data on like plumbers versus someone else, whoever asked that question. But I do count on a market share of local businesses in general. That's where I would start. Louis, how's it going, man? I think you might be the last one. We'll stop at 1:30. Okay, it's 1:25 now.
No worries. Quick question. I don't know how long the answer is going to be. And I apologize. By the way, fantastic training, and I've only been like to the last half of today. So what happens in order to do a webinar? Obviously, you got to be able to market to a bunch of people and try to get a decent crowd. What happens if you don't have an audience built?
So
is that covered?
Yesterday. So they're gonna the high level team is gonna edit it, post it on the YouTube channel. It'll be up either today or tomorrow. However, I broke down. You don't need an audience. I used to get dropped into a city with no friends, no relationships, and I would have to fill up a seminar room in 4 or 5 weeks. So you don't need an audience.
Yeah,
completely fresh. Nobody.
Day 2 is all.
I'll watch it tomorrow. I'll watch it later today.
Yeah, day 2 is about how to bring people in without an audience, ultimately. But great question. So one more time for those that this is the last time we do this, and somebody asked me, hey, is this even available for later? I'm just going to share this one last time. If you upgrade to our pro plan today during this workshop, you get our local hero playbook course that we normally charge $2,000 to non-high levelers. You get our 5-day challenge. So local hero, the playbook, our SaaSpreneur playbook, is perfect for someone who already have marketing experience. They have maybe a few clients, or they're trying to figure out how to transition into SaaS. Okay. The 5-day challenge is for someone who doesn't have any clients and you're trying to get your first client. So it's like get your feet wet kind of thing. Very beginner course, where the SaaSpreneur course is a little bit more advanced. Then you get Andy's webinar snapshot that he built over the years. I talked him into doing his slide deck as well today, so we'll figure that out. And you get all of that for free if you upgrade to high-level SaaS Pro plan, which you're going to need anyway to automate your entire SaaS book of business. That's your cost of launching a software company. And the website, I mean, the link is gohighlevel.com/upgrade now. I just wanted to share this. People are asking me, is there a deadline for this? I personally didn't even think about a deadline because I'm not salesy, but I'm thinking Friday, end of this week, Friday is the last day that you're going to be able to upgrade, because I know we'll have other things going on. But Andy, any final words, man? This last 3 days has been eye-opening, impactful. I learned a lot myself as well. So appreciate you and your entire team as well. I'm looking forward to sitting side by side with you on stage at the Level Up Summit this year as well. We appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much, Paulson, for having me. My last words will be quite simple. The opportunity is in the show up. If you lay down in your bed at night, or you journal and you're thinking about what am I creating for my life in the future, and that's the opportunity. If you really are committed to that, and you see that, hey, this reoccurring revenue thing and making money every single month and making money inside of the software, you can do rebilling, where every time someone sends a text message, you get profit from that. And all those small things that could sustainably create a different lifestyle for you. That's what is the opportunity. And you think about it in your brain and you're like, you know what? I don't know if I don't have an audience. I don't have people in my background. There is a community here that's available to you that's going to share it all. And there's people like myself who's going to break down their strategies and their process, and Paulson brings them together and puts them here. If you go to the Level Up Summit, there's going to be a SaaS panel with me and a group of other people who are crushing it in SaaS. Paulson's going to be hosting that. This is where you get the nuggets dropped that you take and you leave to implement in your life. That's number one. Number two is that inside of the tools, like when you upgrade, there's going to be thought-provoking questions that they're going to ask you that you got to answer. That's going to put you in a position to, I'm clear on my game plan of what's next for my life and my business. And then number three is the tools. The tools. This tool that I gave you, which is a snapshot, I put some respect on the snapshot. And the reason why is because that snapshot has given me time freedom. That process, instead of me doing one-on-one demos, I work one presentation a month selling my SaaS, and it gets dozens of people into my SaaS automatically. I don't have to meet each person one-on-one, and I'm giving you that with when you upgrade and you get your system, right? When you upgrade it to the Pro plan. And I share that with you is because if I was doing something that I thought was freedom, it's like being in a cage thinking you're free. When I was running my agency and Paulson was telling me, Andy, think about the SaaS, think about what's possible over here. I was like, dude, don't tell me what to do, man. Don't tell me what to do, Paulson. But it opened my mind a little bit over time where that case started opening up. And then now I see what the freedom looks like. I'm planning trips and I'm going around the country and my business is almost on autopilot because of the SaaS. So I'm going to be giving you those tools that has allowed new customers to come in every single month consistently for the last few years. And I'm giving you that tool completely when you upgrade. And then on Friday, I'll have the content slide deck for you. So that way you can implement when you do your webinar. Like Ryan earlier, he got 15 people in. He only started 2 days ago with this program. He got 15 people. If you didn't watch all three videos, all 3 days, be sure to watch the replay when they're up. It'll probably be up by the end of this week. But watch all three, really understand that process, That's number one. Number two is make sure that you upgrade. And number three, apply this. Apply this. And I look forward to you being the next Andy, where I come to your training a year from now, 6 months from now, and I come to your training, learning what you're doing.
Absolutely. I don't want to add to that at all. Thank you for the final words, Andy. We'll see you. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Those of you that are already on 497, remember, you can jump into our success room and get a lot of the goodies. But upgrade today. We're more than likely going to close it out. And that is gohelloable.com/upgrade now. I'm not sure if we're going to do a workshop in October. I haven't decided. It'll depend on whether a lot of the things are done for the conference itself, because that's in October. But either way, we'll keep you posted on the next one. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everyone.